What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your host as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news right here over on our YouTube page, streaming live for you guys today. Also streaming over on our Facebook page, along with us over on Twitch as well, ladies and gentlemen. So wherever you're certainly watching us from, thank you so much for certainly joining us here this afternoon, as we are going to be getting into 6 big topics that we want to go ahead and break down for you guys today, and a couple of honorable mentions as well. Some things that didn't quite make the docket, but we certainly felt you should certainly know about it before we went ahead and dived into some of our main topics today. So thank you very much, everybody, for certainly joining us. We started a little bit late, a little bit of a rocky morning around here at the Perez household, if you will, trying to get everything certainly set up. But we're here, we're live, and I got my Ethernet cable connected. So I think we should be hopefully good to go in regards to our connection here this week. But it's not just myself, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. We actually have the full round table of us nerds here today. What's going on, fellas? Good to see everybody, man.
Hey.
Some familiar faces, some faces from faces we haven't seen in quite some time. Good to see everybody here, man.
Good to be back with all three of us.
I know, man. It's been quite some time. We missed you, Stuart, on the Batman spoiler discussion. How did you like the movie, man? What were some of your initial thoughts of it?
Oh, man, it's got to be my new favorite live-action Batman.
Oh, okay.
I think this definitely feels the most like a Batman. It feels like a graphic novel that they literally just like filmed frame for frame to look like a graphic novel, and then just the writing it feels like a graphic novel from either the late 90s or the early 2000s in a good way. Yeah, I think Robert Pattinson does like an amazing job as Batman. And I hope they start to explore a little bit more of him as Bruce Wayne, because I kind of like the idea of how this being like his only second year as Batman. He's kind of gotten more used to being Batman, but he still hasn't actually tried being Bruce Wayne even a little bit. So he's a terrible Bruce Wayne in this. I love it. And plus, there's like so many directions they can go with all the spinoffs and sequels that they have going on, which of course we'll talk about later in the show. But yeah, overall, I thought the Batman was freaking amazing.
I'm glad you liked it, man. You know, one of the things that we talked about on the spoiler review last weekend, for those of you who missed it, me and Indy did get the opportunity to sit down and talk the Batman and a big spoilers discussion. We definitely want you guys to go ahead and check out. But one of the things that we mentioned in there, Stuart, was the fact of when we watch this movie, it feels like a detective noir movie sort of starring Batman so much as a Batman film, you know, as a comic book movie, if you will. Did you get that impression when you watched it? And if so, do you think the idea of this movie being even nominated for a future Oscar is far-fetched, if you will, right? We're always having that conversation and that debate of comic book movies and fitting into the world of cinema and things like that. But when I watch this feels very cinema to me, because it feels like a detective noir movie starring Batman. But what do you think, though, in regards to that?
At the very least, this movie, I think, deserves a nomination for either best visuals or just, for best directing. You know, I can definitely see it not making best films of the year, but I mean, who knows? Because 2022 is like only like less than a third of the way done. But yeah, as of now, like I could definitely see like some of the really great cinematography. I really hope at least gets recognized at the Oscars. Whether or not it wins, you know, is a whole nother thing, but it should at least be nominated for sure.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of fields just from this movie alone that certainly should get some, hopefully some Oscar nods. But we'll definitely see. What were you going to say?
Then yeah, I also just remembered, because you asked about the noir aspect of it. Something like when looking at the trailers at the time, I wasn't the biggest fan of was kind of like the way the cowl would come up like over by the back of his neck. But looking at how they were kind of going with that detective noir type of feel to it, I realized why they did it that way, and I actually kind of like it more now because it kind of comes off like a trench coat, which is what you would see like detectives in those movies like wearing. So the cape is kind of like a trench coat in this, in a way.
I kind of think that like that pop collar trench coat.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually think, aesthetically, his costume works so well for the type of story that they're telling.
Yeah, man, it absolutely does. I love Robert Pattinson's presence as Batman in this entire movie. I truly do. Yeah, shout out to Datilla earlier today. Thank you very much, Tyler, for certainly coming through. The girlfriend, Cindy, greetings from bed. Apparently, her and the little man are cuddled up tightly over there right now while we're doing our show. I'm a little jealous right now, babe. But yeah, shout
Look,
out to Cindy and little Noah.
At least your significant other is actually watching.
Oh,
Don't flip me off. But nah, Tyler Wilson, what's up, Tyler? That's my little brother right there.
Oh, what's up, Tyler?
In for the first time, so
appreciate you coming through, man. Thank you very much. But yeah, so it's good to have everybody back, man. Good to have the whole entire roundtable here today. So we're definitely going to be bouncing a ton of great discussion topics off of each and every one of you. If you guys do have any live viewer questions, remember we will be getting to your live viewer questions at the end of the show. So if you do have any questions, feel free to submit them over to aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, you can send your questions in any time during the week if you'd like. If it's a movie you watch, a television series, a news article you read, some theories or speculations you want to go ahead and bounce off of us, go ahead and send them over to us at aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, it's aplusopinions@gmail.com, and then we'll definitely get to your questions at the end of this episode. But feel free to always, as always, leave your thoughts in the live chat. These are always just simply our A+ opinions, but we always want to certainly go ahead and know yours. So let your thoughts be known in the live chat to certainly go ahead and help to the discussion. But guys, let's go ahead and get into some honorable mentions. Let's go ahead and kick off this show right with some honorable mentions here this week. Did you guys manage to grab any, either you, Indy, or Stuart?
Definitely got one, man. Something I'm really excited about, because we haven't had something like this in the States before, and it actually might make me want to go find a family and do something. But a Nintendo World is coming to the States at Universal Studios, and I'm super geeked about that, and I can't wait. I'm like, it's kind of like when we got the Star Wars theme park at Disney in Cali. Like, yo, I'm gonna be there opening day, first in line. I need to see what they do. I want to break blocks with my head. I want to eat chocolate coins. There's a bunch of stuff I want to do, and I can't wait to see what this is going to be like.
That's pretty cool, man. Where's the other one located?
Japan.
It's Japan? That's the only other one that they have?
The only one that I saw.
That's so cool, man. The fact that it's coming here into the States. I mean, look, I think Disney World already out in Orlando, Florida is always worth visiting. But this is just even another reason to certainly go out. This feels like, what was that Island of Adventures? Like when they unleashed and like rolled out all those, the Marvel aspect of the roller coasters and all that other stuff, even the Harry Potter stuff. I'm assuming this is probably going to be as big as that, right? Like it's literally a Super Mario World they're creating. I'm assuming it's a whole segment of the park devoted to it. Do you know?
Yeah, from what I know, it's Orlando first. I don't know if they have I don't know if they're thinking about doing it in Hollywood, because Universal Studios is bigger in Orlando. That's what surprised me, that they did the Star Wars in Cali but didn't do it in Florida.
I think they did both. They have them in both.
They have them in both. Okay. So yeah, it's Orlando.
One just opened up earlier than the other, I think by a year.
Okay. Yeah, because I went to the one in Cali, I guess, because it opened early. I just thought that's the only place it was going to be. But Orlando, I didn't read anything about Hollywood, but I'm super excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I definitely have to set up a trip to go out to Orlando for Universal Studios. What about you, Stuart? You got an honorable mention here this week?
I couldn't find any honorable mentions, but I got a recommendation though for the movie Turning Red on Disney Plus. I watched that yesterday before work, and I was really surprised. Like, not to say that it looked bad, but just the trailer never really gripped me that much. It didn't look that great, but I watched it and I'm like, okay, I was wrong. This was amazing, and screw Disney for not putting this movie in theaters.
or
I love it, man.
Or thank Disney for not making it, or for making it accessible to everyone at the jump.
I mean, maybe that too, but at the very least, they should have done both. At least like release it both in theaters and on Disney Plus.
You guys ever think that maybe there's too much content out there these days? Like there's too much to watch? I feel like I can't keep track of all of it, honestly.
I mean, honestly, I kind of like it that way, because it used to be like, every Sunday, everyone watched the same thing, whether it be Family Guy or Lost. So then it would be like everyone would talk about the same shows, every time they'd go back to school or work and everything. But now with there being so many different shows and everything out there, it's just easier for different people to have like different conversations about different shows. And then it also gets you interested in watching other shows as well, I guess.
And you said your movie that you recommended was on Netflix?
Oh, no, it's on Disney Plus, Turning
Plus?
Red.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did see the me and the girlfriend were watching Disney Plus yesterday. I did see the thumbnail for it. So yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll certainly go ahead and check it out, man. We actually just downloaded, what did we get yesterday? Paramount Plus. I actually canceled my Netflix account because the girlfriend's got a Netflix account. So we're like, why do we have copies? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just like, let me go ahead and put that $20 towards something else. So I think 10 of that went to Paramount Plus, and I am debating about the Apple Plus TV thing or whatever they call it, but we'll see.
There is that one show on Apple TV I really got to check out because it looks really cool from the trailers. It's the one where people go to work, but when they go to work, they access like they lose all their memories of their home life, and they only have the memories of being at work. But then once they leave the workplace, they lose all memories of workplace, and they only know the memories of their home life.
There's a lot of there's a lot of pros and cons to that, because trust me, I would love to leave work and never think of work again as long as I'm out of work. I think that would be pretty awesome. But yeah, losing like your home memories and stuff once you walk into work, that's pretty trippy, man. That's pretty trippy.
Like when you think about it, literally that side of you, the only memories you have are being at work. So it's that's literally your life. So
I'll have to see what show that is on Apple Plus TV for sure. Let's see here. Datilla does say, yeah, I've heard that Orlando's theme park is bigger than ours. Going back to the Disney World stuff. Yeah, it's an entire world. It literally is. It's like it's probably got to be like 10 times bigger than Disneyland. It's massive. But thank you very much, Stuart, for your recommendations there, guys. So definitely go ahead and check it out on Disney Plus. A couple other honorable mentions in here right off the bat. Believe it or not, for those Walking Dead fans, they actually just announced a Maggie and Negan spinoff series announced over at AMC. I think this is like the third or fourth spinoff that The Walking Dead has created, like in its time period so far. Comicbook.com earlier this week mentioned that, yeah, Lauren Cohan's Maggie and Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Negan will star in a new spinoff series set in the Walking Dead universe. They've greenlight the franchise's sixth scripted series titled Isle of the Dead for a 6-episode first season set to premiere on AMC and AMC Plus in 2023. So I'm assuming The Walking Dead is wrapping up after I don't even know how many seasons it's been on. I fell off, unfortunately, maybe like 2 or 3 seasons ago. But it's been going strong. They had the Fear of the Walking Dead. I think they even had one of like a group of children, like a new generation of kids that have been like raised during this time period of only knowing zombies living amongst us, sort of thing too. And now we've got ourselves a Maggie and Negan spin-off series coming next year. Indian Stewart, are you guys still watching The Walking Dead? And if not, or if so, what do you think about them still going on here with a new spin-off series?
I stopped when the comic ended. Just I don't know why, I just did. But I can tell you right now that if I don't know what's going on, but if Maggie and Negan hook up, just cancel the whole show, because that is just totally disrespectful after what happened.
What he did to
what he did to Glenn. That is just not that there is no getting over that. There is no, oh no, he's a good person.
I forgive you for bashing my husband's head in. I just can't.
It just doesn't work for me. But I'm curious in what's going to happen with that though. So I might check it out.
You know what I think happened? I think.
What do you think?
I think they got both the actors on board for a completely different project in mind. I think they were going to make a Batman prequel with Thomas and Martha Wayne, but then they couldn't get the rights to it. So they're like, oh, we already got the actors, so let's just make it a Walking Dead thing. Because they both played Thomas and Martha and Batman v Superman.
That's right, they did. That's a great callback, man. Let's see here. The other honorable mention here, Deadline is reporting that there's a God of War TV series adaptation currently being eyed by Amazon Prime. I've already thought that God of War would honestly make a great television series. So the fact that Amazon Prime is picking that up sounds pretty fascinating to me. Deadline says that the franchise God of War is headed to television. Prime Video is in negotiations for a live action series based on the hugely popular ancient mythology themed game, a source says. They say they hear the series adaptation comes from the Expanse creators and executive producers, along with the Wheel of Time executive producers. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, that's about most of the article there. So, yeah, it says Amazon Studios has been pretty aggressive. It's also picked up the TV series for Fallout. There's also rumors that Amazon's supposed to be doing a Mass Effect series adaptation as well. And now we've got God of War up there as well. So, yeah, I think this is a really great score for Amazon Prime. What do you guys think in regards to the idea of a God of War TV series?
You said Mass Effect, and now I don't care. Now I just want that instead.
Now you just want the Mass Effect. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think like a God of War TV series could actually work really well, especially if Amazon's producing it, because as they're showing with their Lord of the Rings series that's going to be coming up, they are not afraid to throw money at showrunners. So yeah, I can't say I'm like excited for it yet. Like I have no hype for it, but I'm definitely open to the idea for sure.
Yeah, Amazon Prime. I mean, when it comes to Jeff Bezos, I mean, homeboy only cares about two things: making great content for his shows, and then going to outer space and using all of your money specifically for that. So, yeah, I'm excited for the Lord of the Rings stuff. But you tell me that, and God of War coming. Yeah, I'm on board with this. I think this is ripe to be adapted. What do you think, Indy?
I'm not. I don't really care about the God of War. Because to be totally honest with you, I'd rather have like a Hercules for, you know what I'm saying, reboot from what we had with Kevin Sorbo or something like that. I would rather want something like that than God of War. But the Mass Effect is huge because that could be this generation Star Wars, to be honest with you. And then the Fallout thing is crazy because there's so much lore with Fallout that you could watch that for the next 15 years and they never run out of stories to tell.
Yeah, I guess that's true. You're absolutely right in that regards.
Best part is like the world of Fallout, because there's like Indy was saying, there's so much lore and this just like so expansive. You don't even have to follow the games necessarily. You could literally just create your own character, create your own town, and just make your own story within that universe.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely, it's like a huge sandbox for them to certainly play in if they definitely want to. He said, Tyler says people still playing Fallout games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fallout I replay Fallout 3 all the time.
Yeah, I remember I had a girlfriend in Florida when I moved out there for a brief period of time. Her dad used to play Fallout, and he used to absolutely love it. But it used to be so frustrating to watch him play video games all the time. He was the type of person that when he would get to a certain part in the game, if he wasn't satisfied with where he was, he would literally start his whole entire campaign over again. Like I literally would watch this man play Fallout 3, spend hours trying to get out of the bunker, and the moment he would get out of the bunker, he would start the game over again. Like I literally watched this man do this like 2-3 times, and I'm like, look, as a viewer, just get on with the damn game, bro. Like I just push forward. I want to know what happens. Have you ever played with anybody like that before that just constantly repeats their games over and over again?
Yeah, I play with myself. Oh, that sounded bad. I do it.
Keep those stories to yourself, Indy.
I mean,
why is it you say that and all of a sudden we get a heart reaction and a like reaction to the video?
I don't know.
It's our fans telling us they want us to start an OnlyFans, obviously.
Yeah, Indy, get on that, bro.
Nah, I think you're the one that would make all the money off the OnlyFans, Adam.
Oh my god. But anyway, one last honorable mention. I just want to throw this in there. Good old Ghostbuster vet Ernie Hudson has officially joined the Quantum Leap NBC reboot pilot. I thought that was actually pretty cool. I do love me some Ernie Hudson. I feel like I don't see enough of Ernie Hudson these days, but when he does pop up, for some reason, it's a real joy to actually see him working on a project or whatever the case may be. But he has been tapped as the lead opposite of Raymond Lee in the upcoming 1 hour long pilot for Quantum Leap, a reboot off of the beloved 1990s sci-fi drama. So Ernie Hudson got himself a job, guys. I'm kind of excited for it.
Awesome.
What's up, Gnarly? Good to see you in here, man. Thank you very much for certainly joining us today. And I think that'll probably wrap up the honorable mention segment for. Oh, you got something? I got
two big ones. Here as a pod, I think we want to give out prayers and a quick recovery.
Yes. Good old Big E.
Yeah. Who ended up fracturing, I think, his C1 and his C6. C1 is a big thing. So even though he doesn't need surgery, his wrestling career might be over because of the C1 injury. But also, as of an hour ago, the NWO's own Mr. Razor Ramon Scott Hall was put on life support after suffering multiple heart attacks.
Oh no! Really?
So, yeah. Prayers to him, his family, and all his loved ones, and let's hope he's able to pull out of that.
The bad guy. Oh my God! Multiple heart attacks. You said
multiple heart attacks. Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, look, his past, I mean, doesn't surprise me. I mean, based off of, I mean, I know he's probably changed his life around. I don't know what significant changes he's made, but that type of old school lifestyle definitely catches up to you, man, after all those years. So that's terrible news. So quick recovery to him, I guess. And yeah, the Big E stuff is just sad. We brought it up. We were talking about this in our Discord. Another reason why you guys should join our Discord. We were talking about this over on the Discord page. Ridge Holland, the guy that botched the spot along with Big E. I heard that's not the only person he's injured. I heard he also injured Johnny Gargano back when he was in NXT as well. And this just kind of frustrates me in the sense that I haven't seen anything Ridge Holland been super impressive to me, at least in the things that I've seen him in so far. And the fact that he's already injured 2 wrestlers in this particular condition, it just makes me think Vince, these people are still way too green for you to be bringing them up to the main roster. And it's is it just a case of them being big and muscular? And you're I like that guy, let's bring him up, without even knowing how safe he is in the ring. It's a little frustrating. I'm glad that he visited him, but to me, it's just a sense of you're way too green, Ridge. You get back into the Performance Center if that's the case. It's just a shame.
You could have kept Ridge Holland in NXT, and you could have brought up Pete Dunne and had Pete Dunne do the exact same thing that Ridge Holland is doing right now. Instead, you bring up Pete Dunne now and change his name to Butch. It doesn't make any sense, and especially after the lackluster title run that Big E had, and now he was shafted on that, to have this happen and know that it's a possibility his wrestling career could be over and them never be able to get that back is just not good for everything that he has done. You know what I'm saying, for that company.
That's crazy, man. Well, much support and prayers and well wishes to Big E and a quick recovery, man. Hopefully we see him around soon. We'll keep you guys updated in regards to his wrestling future, though, as well as Scott Hall, man. Quick recovery, and I hope everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Come on, Detil. I'm telling you, we can start a wrestling podcast tomorrow.
Yeah, you guys should, for sure.
Honestly, we could use some wrestling content on the channel. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, we definitely could. All right, guys. With that out of the way, though, I think that'll wrap up the honorable mentions for us here today, as we go ahead and start aiming towards the main topics. Are you ready? Oh, yeah. I did bring up to Datilis. She says Adam brought up Sabu breaking his neck in the Discord. Yeah, I reminded her about the Chris Benoit and Sabu match over in ECW when he landed on his head. That's kind of what it reminded me of when I watched the Big E thing. So yeah, just some wrestling history for y'all. But anyway, you guys ready to get into some main topics, guys? Let's flip the script around here and dive into some Star Wars, Marvel, and DC today. You guys ready to get your nerd on?
Yeah, always. we need to play the Spider-Man theme after that or something to move on. change the tone. Let's
Yeah,
go.
we got some. We do got some. This thing does provide us with background music now. Indy, remember that?
Just be careful it's not copyrighted music, because then they'll shut down our stream immediately.
I mean, it shouldn't be. It's
No,
it's what they provide for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I don't know if I'm liking the. I'll leave the into space for the live viewer question segment.
Okay.
I don't know. I want to.
Everything sounds depressing so far. We're going the wrong direction.
Yeah, definitely going the wrong direction.
There we go.
Yeah, it's like an 80s montage. Perfect.
I'm having way too much fun with this. Let me lower this background music down just so it doesn't. Okay, yeah, we'll keep it. All right, we'll keep it low like that. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the first topic today, man. I feel like we're about to jump into a mosh pit right now. But let's go ahead and dive into this, man. We got the first topic we're gonna talk about today. The main topic over on our thumbnail, the biggest picture that we've got in regards to good old Ewan McGregor returning as Obi-Wan Kenobi, a return that I think most of us have been highly anticipating for years, ever since the end credits for Revenge of the Sith certainly started rolling, hoping that we would certainly see this guy back once again. But the time is now, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we do have a Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series that's certainly set to go ahead and drop this May 25th to go ahead and honor and celebrate the 45th anniversary of Star Wars. And this week was the first week that we really got the opportunity to see not only a brand new trailer to reveal some new footage, but Entertainment Weekly itself also had a massive article along with some new images for us to definitely go ahead and dive into and discuss. We did talk a little bit about this earlier in the week. There is another video up on APlus Hero Report breaking down the trailer and the images. But I wanted to go ahead and sit down amongst our friends here and certainly go ahead and get everybody's thoughts in regards to this, along with highlighting some aspects of the Entertainment Weekly article that I thought were pretty insightful and pretty eye-opening in regards to what we can certainly expect and just the mindset of Lucasfilm in regards to how they're certainly treating this particular series. And so I thought it'd be pretty fun to go ahead and discuss this Entertainment Weekly article with you guys today. So let's go ahead and dive into this. I will actually go ahead and turn off this music real quick for a little bit. But let's go ahead and bring up this article. We also got a bunch of photos for you guys to look at as well as we're going through this. But let's go ahead and bring this up. This is from Entertainment Weekly. It says, in Obi-Wan Kenobi, inside the 17-year journey to reunite Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen for Obi-Wan Kenobi. I definitely would recommend that you guys certainly go ahead and check this out. Indy and Stewart, I'm not quite sure if you guys have had the opportunity to check out some of these photos, but I will go ahead and put up the Entertainment Weekly photos real quick, just to kind of give some of your guys' thoughts in regards to what do you think so far. But how did you like the Entertainment Weekly stuff that we got, Indy and Stewart?
That's a man's beard.
Isn't it though? It looks gorgeous, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah, everything about the look of this movie looks absolutely fantastic. I think Ewan McGregor looks like he's just slipped right back into the role and he's ready to go.
Yeah, I think they said this is like 10 years, I think, after Revenge of the Sith. I can't quite recall, but he definitely looks like he's aged. I mean, granted, the Tatooine double suns and the sands got to be killer on somebody's face and just sucks all the moisture out of you. So he definitely looks like he's certainly aged, but he's definitely getting to that Alec McGinnis what do you call it? Age for sure. He's definitely looking a little bit more like Alec each time I see him.
I think, and I could be remembering it wrong, but I think in the Ahsoka novel, they actually straight up say that's why he ages faster is because of the two suns. I'm not quite sure what the science is behind that, but yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
yes.
Looking freaking badass, especially with that lightsaber and on the last image you just showed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely love this image of him.
Well, it's true. I mean, kids do age you.
I guess that's true too. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I thought these were some good images. We also got the idea of being introduced to a brand new villain in here, also played by Moses Ingram. She's going to be the Inquisitor Reva in here. Some really great shots, I thought, from Entertainment Weekly. What do you guys think of these?
Definitely looking badass. Wait, go back to the previous image.
Is
that Owen?
Yeah, that's Owen. That's Joel Edgerton.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's come back. Yeah, Joel Edgerton has come back. And looks like he's getting face to face with one of the Inquisitors. Looks like, I'm assuming, if anything, they're definitely hunting down some Jedi or at least Force sensitive beings. So, this is definitely a tense situation considering Owen's dilemma that he's in right now.
Yeah, definitely. So what I'm kind of curious about though with her, because we have, I think this is our first time seeing her because I don't think we've gotten her in any of the novels or any of the other spinoffs, right?
I don't believe so yet. I do wonder if there's a reveal that maybe we have seen her before, but maybe not with her helmet off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because what I'm wondering is with kind of like the way they've gone about the Inquisitors in Jedi Fallen Order, is if they're going to do kind of a similar direction with her in this movie, kind of like just the idea of like a lot of the Inquisitors really being victims just as much as villains.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, I would be curious to see how they handle her. Some of the things that Deborah Chow mentioned in regards to Inquisitor Reva certainly stands out to me. I will see if they mention any of that here in the article itself, but definitely worth checking out. So those are some of the Entertainment Weekly photos that did in fact at least drop this week. But again, they also had themselves a trailer. What did you guys think of the trailer? I'm sure you guys have had the opportunity to certainly check it out for yourselves. Indy, what did you think of the trailer?
I really enjoyed the trailer. I like the pacing of it. I enjoyed actually what they showed us. Just keeping it a mystery, because one problem we've been having with trailers as of late is them giving everything away. So I'm curious about that. I like the little shots we did get of what we got, and man, from what I'm hearing about what Hayden Christensen's Darth Vader is going to be like, it's making this series a must watch immediately rather than one of them things you waiting to binge it later.
Yeah, I totally agree. I did have an image. Entertainment Weekly did go ahead and release a new image of Darth Vader. I am trying to see if did I save it though? Oh yeah, I did. I just forgot to go ahead and load it since you went ahead and mentioned Darth Vader. This is the new photo that they went ahead and revealed from this series itself, as Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker does in fact return. So yeah, he's definitely going to be in charge. Under him though is definitely the Grand Inquisitor that we've seen from Star Wars Rebels, the animated series. He is definitely working very much for Darth Vader here, and I'm assuming he's in charge of the rest of these Inquisitors that we certainly see. It looks like we've got Inquisitor Reva standing at the table. I believe that's the fifth brother, one of the other Inquisitors sitting down. I'm not quite sure who the other female Inquisitor is all the way to the far left here, but there are definitely numerous amounts of Inquisitors during this particular time period, and the trailer also showcased their tower in the middle of the sea. So they got themselves a little bit of an Inquisitor's base. I kind of like what I'm seeing here so far, just to bounce off of what you were mentioning, Indy, in regards to Darth Vader coming back and all.
Definitely, man. I can't wait for this series at all. This and Moon Knight had me like salivating right now.
Yeah, it should be a good time. Should be a good time to be a Star Wars fan for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Really loving that visual of Darth Vader, and I love that we got the other Inquisitors making, like, I assume maybe not big appearances, but brief appearances. I think the only thing that I thought was kind of weird was with the Grand Inquisitor. Like, I didn't, like, I always imagine, like, in live action, his head being very similar to what we see in Star Wars Rebels. So in other words, I imagined it being a lot more pointy, basically.
The cone head?
Yeah, like very similar to, because we see like an alien race very similar to them in Revenge of the Sith. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of expecting that kind of look, but I didn't expect it to look more human-esque. So I thought that was like kind of the one thing that, yeah, right there. I didn't expect his head to look more human-like. So I thought that was kind of the one thing that was bizarre about it. But that, nitpicking aside, yeah, I think everything about what they're going for with this series looks amazing. It really looks like the perfect crossover with the movies and like a lot of the expanded universe that we haven't gotten to see really explored in live action yet.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time period for them to definitely be exploring here, where you get the opportunity to finally just meld all of the live action stuff and the animated sort of storylines kind of all into one, just kind of colliding at the perfect time here as far as the time period that they're intersecting. So, yeah, I loved all the images that we wind up getting here. The trailers themselves look great. And I will admit too, Stuart, if there was any sort of issue that I had with it probably was the Grand Inquisitor design. We'll see. Again, it was just simply the trailer. I guess once we actually get into the show itself, I'll be curious to see if the design looks any better. But I like you, I was kind of expecting maybe a little bit of a more elongated head there. But look, trying to adapt these animated series into live action, clearly not always the easiest to certainly do, but we'll certainly see as the series goes on. But
yeah. Sorry. I was just gonna say, because I remember when they brought in Cad Bane to Boba Fett, people were like saying, "Oh, the shape of his head isn't exactly like it was in the Clone Wars," and it's like, well, yeah, the same way that a lot of the Jedi that you see don't look like, bricks the same way they do in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and get into this article here. I think there's like 3 sections that I want to go ahead and read off and just kind of get your guys' thoughts. So we'll go through the first one here. And this looks like maybe the idea of just trying to get this Obi-Wan Kenobi series together. Because they do mention in here the idea that in past interviews how Ewan McGregor has always left the door open to return as Ewan McGregor, that he's always mentioned in past interviews that if an opportunity ever arisen, if the script was pretty good, I would certainly come back. And it seems as though those over at Lucasfilm heard everything that he said, because it says that they tried to reach out to him and they just said, look, we've read that you said you'd be happy to do it. We just want to know if you mean it or if you're just being polite, because we're thinking that it could be an option, but we want to know if you're in or not. And he said, it's absolutely true. I want to return. He says, so with McGregor ready to ignite his trusty saber, Lucasfilm actively began development on Obi-Wan Kenobi film to be directed by Stephen Daldry. The Jedi's return to the silver screen was no longer a matter of if, but rather when. And then Solo happened. Released in May 2018, the somewhat awkwardly titled Solo, a Star Wars story, garnered a world box office haul of $393 million, a far cry from the $1.3 billion that was brought in from The Last Jedi. It says whether the shockingly light turnout was due to the tepid reviews, a sudden saturation of Star Wars, or fans not wanting to see someone other than Harrison Ford play the scruffy nerf herder, the future of all franchise films outside of the trilogy concluded The Rise of Skywalker were immediately sent into limbo. But while those movies may have been put on the Hoth level ice, Kennedy says interest for a Kenobi project in some form remained, but not in a movie. Then what? So this is where they really started looking at the opportunity in the streaming space where you can do a long form storytelling. And we realized that there was an opportunity to experiment in that space without the level of scrutiny that happens when you release a feature. So you could definitely see that there's certainly learning here for sure. It does say here that, however, the crew came together to work towards a summer 2020 production start date. Kennedy became concerned with the direction of the script, though. She said, we're looking ultimately to make a hopeful, uplifting story, says the studio head. And it's tricky when you're starting with a character and the state that Obi-Wan would be in coming off of Revenge of the Sith. That's a pretty bleak period of time. I can't just wave a magic wand with any writer and arrive at a story that necessarily reflects what you want to feel, is what she stated. She says, believing an overhaul was in order, Kennedy temporarily shut down production in January of 2020, pushed the filming start date back, and hired a new writer in Joby Harold to take over. Harold did go on to say this was a character that always has been a minor obsession of mine. And when I heard it was a character they were exploring, I very aggressively told them all the things I thought they should certainly do. So now this new story is crafted by Harold and Deborah Choi. And it takes place 10 years after Obi-Wan went into hiding on Tatooine. They mention Obi-Wan is lost, according to Ewan McGregor. He's a broken man after what happened with the Jedi Order at the end of episode 3, but also what happened with Anakin, that he lost him to the dark side. He feels an enormous amount of responsibility for that and guilt. So this will be a 6-episode series focusing on that journey from pain to at least some modicum of peace. And so this is what I find pretty interesting here. It says Deborah Chow says that we inherited some of it in regards to the original plot, but we did really make some significant changes and added a few different elements. Meanwhile, the internal debate was raging over whether to dare bring back another larger-than-life character out of retirement. So let's stop there for a moment, Stuart and Indy, because I do find this interesting in here in regards to showcasing how Obi-Wan goes from a movie into a television series. The fact that after the lackluster performance of Solo and not the Last Jedi, but after Solo, they really start kind of changing course, thinking, well, maybe people don't want to see maybe these legacy characters in that particular way. And then, of course, obviously after the rise of Skywalker, that definitely halts things even further, right? So the idea of switching from movie to scripts for a television series, then switching out your writers from the script that you had from the movie to somebody else to come in and do a television series, I find pretty interesting. And to be honest, Stuart, maybe a little bit worrisome. And just because of the fact of maybe the history that we have here when it comes to Lucasfilm and sort of their last minute trajectory changes, if you will. I don't necessarily know how confident I feel in Joby Harold, even though Joby Harold, this new writer, has other things on his production list over on IMDb. I believe he's also the main writer of the new Transformers movie that we're supposed to be getting also. So I'm not exactly sure what that script certainly looks like either. But it seems as though Kennedy wasn't pleased with the first script that she had, a little bit maybe too bleak. And they kind of wanted to go with something a little bit more hopeful. And so this is where they landed on Joby Harold's script. I mean, Deborah Chow even mentions there's very little of the original script that was inherited. So this feels like a big major overhaul to the story that we're going to be getting here. Does this give you comfort? Does this give you concern? Do you see why they made your trajectory course? What are your thoughts in regards to hearing about that, Stuart?
Well, when you first mentioned the fact that she wanted this script to be a lot more hopeful, I got a little bit worried, but then I kind of remembered the last time this happened was with Rogue One, how they had to rewrite and reshoot like a good chunk of the movie because it was too dark and depressing, and yet it still ended with all the main characters dying. So, honestly, I'm not as worried as like I think other people are going to be for this. And it makes sense too, because, you know, the original script was structured for a movie. I think I would rather them start from scratch, knowing it's going to be a TV show instead of taking what was meant for a movie and then trying to stretch that out into a TV show. I feel like that actually probably would have been a disaster. I think like a lot of what they were saying here in the article makes a lot of sense. So this is kind of where I'm a little bit mixed though. Like on the one hand, I'm kind of glad that the Kenobi series is going to be a series and not a movie. I'm just like, I find it so bizarre that it was because of Solo that they decided that. Because I feel like Solo did really bad because it was just so terribly marketed, and then they also released it way too soon after we had just gotten a Star Wars movie. I feel like if they had marketed the movie better, if they released it in December, and they also didn't, like, for some reason, I don't know why Disney was like, or I don't know if it was Disney specifically, but there were just so many articles that were coming out about how like Disney wasn't happy with the actor playing Solo. I forgot his name. So I feel like those were like the factors on why no one really wanted to see Solo in theaters when it came out. So I think it's kind of weird that was what caused them to make their big decision change and move more to television. But like I said, I'm glad it did happen though, regardless, because I think as a series, Obi-Wan, there's just a lot of potential, and there's just so much of the Star Wars world that you could explore when you have more episodes to do it, and not just like you're not just limited to a movie.
Yeah, I think for me, if there's anything, I will be very interested to kind of see how the story unfolds within the first within 6 episodes. I can't lie, I think the Book of Boba Fett, seeing that in sort of a limited series, did worry me a little bit more in regards to the trajectory for Obi-Wan. It felt very much like even the main character itself didn't have too much of a focus, unfortunately. So I am hoping that with this particular limited series, this is handled a little bit more with kid gloves, considering just who the main character is here with Ewan McGregor. But I do love the idea of turning it into a 6-parter, just because, like you said, there's plenty more time now to go ahead and tell the story that you certainly need to, especially during that time period. It seems like a lot of big events certainly are taking place. I do want to go ahead and move on, and the next time, Indy, I'm going to come to you and break this down. But the next topic of this is really talking about the returning Hayden Christensen here. It says, to Vader or not to Vader? That was the question as the creative team began remapping Obi-Wan's story. Aggressive negotiations, this time without a lightsaber, commence as to whether the story should also include the fallen Jedi. They said the debate around whether we should do that or not carried on for quite some time, Kathleen Kennedy revealed. Everybody within our creative team has strong opinions, and all of our fans have strong opinions. So when you realize that you're under that level of scrutiny, certainly a story point like that is going to be scrutinized at a very high level. We talked about it constantly. It says, in this case, the dark side won, and with McGregor back, there was only one choice to fill out the big black suit this time around. Deborah Chow went to Vader's meditation chamber to make her pitch in person to Hayden. Hayden says, Deborah came up and spent the day chatting. She told me a little bit about the project and her vision for it, and I just thought it sounded wonderful. I was very excited to come back. It says it was so important to have Hayden be a part of this project because he is such a massive part of that character, is what Joby Harold, the writer, said. It was a priority to all of us that we did it with as much care as possible so as to honor one of the greatest villains and antagonists in history. Now, whether or not James Earl Jones will once again be voicing the character, no one will certainly say. But they do go on to say, when you first came on set with us, it definitely had a very special feeling. The first time I saw him in costume, he was towering over me. He was literally almost twice my size, is what Deborah Chow said. It was really intense to have such an iconic character and then to be directing him and doing some new scenes with him. I do remember poor Ewan on that day was like, what am I, chopped liver? Because everyone was giving him so much attention. Haydenson says the whole experience was very surreal. But while everyone on set was marveling in that direction, the man behind the mask was moved by what he saw through his tinted helmet lenses. The first time I saw Ewan as Obi-Wan again, there was a very special moment for me, and one that I'll remember for a very, very long time. The battle had officially been joined as they wind up finally reconnecting here. So let me throw this over to you, Indy. The idea that apparently trying to bring back Darth Vader was a really big question mark when developing this series. It does make me wonder if whether or not Darth Vader then had any role to play in the original script for the movie that we were getting. The fact that they went back and forth to debate whether or not Darth Vader should even be in here almost kind of tells me a little bit that he maybe wasn't even in the original script, but I could certainly be wrong in that regards. But apparently a lot of scrutiny, a lot of decisions, a lot of really strong opinions from the creative team in here. Do you think bringing back Darth Vader was the right decision? And what's your level of excitement hearing Christensen and Deborah Chow talk about the return of Darth Vader here?
I honestly think, how do you have a Obi-Wan story and not have it coincide with the story of Darth Vader? I'm really into this. I love the fact that we literally just saw it. If you watch Spider-Man No Way Home, right? You look at a Spider-Man who was looked at not having the greatest run, you know what I'm saying, not getting his third movie, and being able to have Andrew Garfield redeem himself. One of the biggest downtrodens that get talked about in the prequel series is Hayden Christensen's portrayal of Anakin, and his portrayal, you know, basically as Darth Vader, something that he never really got to portray on screen, except for, you know what I'm saying, like the one-off scene that you got. So I really believe that he deserves to be able to come back and, quote unquote, to the hardcore Star Wars elitists, redeem himself in their eyes. And who else would you go get? I mean, this man, regardless of if you thought negative or positive about him, to me, played a role that was going to be one of the hardest roles to play, you know, in the Star Wars universe, and didn't do a bad job. You can't portray bad acting for bad writing, you know what I'm saying, and give him a chance to actually redeem what he's finna do. I mean, we've seen plenty of stars do it. You look at Ryan Reynolds with a horrible freaking Green Lantern script, then he comes and he gets Deadpool and redeems it. So we see it happen all the time. So I'm looking forward to seeing, because we all love Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. That was one of the most redeeming things about that prequel series, is the Obi-Wan that he played. So we already know what we're going to get from that character, and he's actually going to be able to give us more depth because of what the character is going through and everything that happened. So actually being able to see Hayden Christensen come and portray Darth Vader in his most powerful, you know what I'm saying, at his fullest, is something that I feel we were shortchanged when it came to the prequel series. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it also, man. I'm glad that you wind up pointing that out. Because you know, Hayden Christensen, I think, definitely deserves a retread here, another opportunity to go ahead and play this character. I don't know exactly, like, physically how much we're going to see of him sort of outside of the costume. There's a part of me that's kind of under the impression that we'll probably see him both as Anakin and Darth Vader. Like, there's a part of me that kind of wants to see maybe some flashback sequences of a time of Hayden and Obi-Wan, or Hayden and Ewan as Obi-Wan and Anakin from the Clone Wars, maybe a little bit later in their Clone Wars battles. That's something that I certainly would like to see once again. But I think under a completely new director and a new writing team, you know, I would like them to be able to give Anakin something, or Hayden something, where he can really perform in front of the camera. Just no mask on sort of thing, whether that's prosthetics and the damaged face, or him again as Anakin Skywalker. I really want to see them give him that opportunity at some point in time. But I think probably the debate about bringing back Ewan. What's up, Nicole? Appreciate you coming through. I think that the debate about bringing back Vader probably stems, Stuart, also from just the line in A New Hope of Vader talking about the last time that he saw Obi-Wan. You know, he said something like, "I was the apprentice, you were the master, or I was a student, you were the teacher," something along those lines. And I think people are suggesting that they probably have only met one time during their time on Mustafar in the Battle of Revenge of the Sith. And some people question whether or not, based off of the lore and the history, if they've even ever had a second encounter after that, or if their time in A New Hope is truly their first time seeing each other since Mustafar. How have you always sort of looked at that? Do you think that this is kind of breaking canon a little bit, or do you think they can work in a second encounter and still ring true to how the New Hope sort of presented it?
I like to call it a soft retcon. Like, the idea is that when George Lucas originally wrote the script for episode 3, I'm pretty sure he wrote that battle as being the battle that Vader was talking about in episode 4. But, you know, as the universe expands, as they kind of come up with new stories that go in between, I feel like it's going to be kind of soft retcon. So it'll be like, this will be the battle that Vader refers to. And it's not like this would be the first time something like this has happened, because when you look at Star Wars episode 3, the beginning fight between Dooku and Anakin says, "My powers have doubled since the last time we fought." Clearly, when that was in the script, he was referring to Attack of the Clones. It's very clear that that's what he was referring to. But then when you watch the Clone Wars, you see that Anakin and Dooku have fought like several times since then. So that line suddenly, kind of has a very different meaning now when you look at it. So I think it's going to be kind of the same thing with episode 4 when he's like, last time I saw you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master. I feel like we're going to see Vader make a really big mistake. And it's going to probably, after he loses this battle with Obi-Wan, if they even battle, that is, because we still don't even know if they're actually going to battle each other or if Vader is just like kind of taking a small role in the movie. But regardless, I feel like if they do fight, it's going to be Vader basically making a really big mistake and then learning from that mistake and saying it's not going to happen again. I am now a master or something like that.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how it winds up playing out, but I think that's probably where a lot of the pushback might have certainly come from, the idea of even bringing Vader on board once again. And the last segment I do want to go ahead and bring up from this arc.
Actually,
go ahead.
Sorry, just one more thing I wanted to say on top of that, though. With the concern of Vader coming back, I think the reason I'm not as concerned about it as others is just like the fact that in the article, like you mentioned, that they had this big talk about bringing Vader back.
Right.
It was the fact that it was a big decision for them, and it wasn't like of course we're putting Vader in there because the fans and all that. The fact that they had to think about it really shows that they're not just doing it for fan service, that they actually do have a pretty good story reason for why he's going to be there. Or at the very least, maybe even if it wasn't at first, the fact that they took their time to make sure it actually worked for the story, that gets me pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm glad you really brought that up, because I think that's one of the biggest issues that we've had with Disney, is the idea of maybe not necessarily thinking things fully through or taking their time to put something together. So the fact that they at least did hear various opinions and actually sat down and talked and debated about this definitely, hopefully, will give people some peace of mind. But the last section here I do want to go ahead and bring up is really in regards to the villains here that we have in regards to the Inquisitors. So it says, while the Obi-Wan and Kenobi reunion, the Obi-Wan and Darth Vader reunion is the big headline, the story that will unfold on Disney Plus screens is much more than just a decade later face-off between former master and apprentice. It will do more than just fill in the gaps in their personal history. It will also fill in the gaps in the ultimate clash between good and evil. It says the Empire is in its ascendancy, is what Joby Harold says. All the horrors that came with the Empire being made manifest throughout the galaxy. So everything that was in the prequels has crumbled. The Jedi Order are being all but wiped out, and those Jedi that have survived are on the run, and they're in hiding. And they're not just hiding from Vader. The Dark Lord has tasked the Grand Inquisitor and his group of Inquisitors to hunt down and eliminate any and all stray Jedi who managed to escape the Great Purge of Order 66. First introduced on screen in the animated Star Wars series, Rebels, Inquisitors are fearsome, Force-sensitive beings on a singular mission for the Empire. They're trying to eradicate the Jedi Order all together, is what Ewan McGregor winds up mentioning. It says not only will we see the relentless Inquisitors for the first time in live action, but Obi-Wan will also introduce a new Inquisitor named Reva, who Harold promises will contribute to the legacy of Star Wars villains in a very interesting way. It says Harold and Chow use the words ruthless and ambitious to describe their new Jedi hunter, but the woman playing her prefers another description. Moses Ingram says Reva is a boss. She says, I mean, really like a full-on athlete. She says she is on a mission and will conquer that at all costs when given the opportunity. She is pretty badass. It says the directors is just as pumped for viewers to be introduced to the new antagonist. It's really exciting for me to bring a female villain and to have a dark side woman in a very significant role. Hopefully, Reva's significance will extend beyond the screen, adds Ingram. We had a lot of conversations about hair and what the right hair might be. Deborah was really great about moving from the initial vision to what we arrived at for Reva's hair. I wanted kids to have their own hair at Halloween. That's huge if you look at all the black kids with kinky hair, says Ingram. When they want to be Elsa, they just put on a blonde wig. Now there's so many kids that'll be able to wear their hair at Halloween. That's going to be really exciting. So I love the descriptions here. Ruthless, ambitious, really driven, if you will, to go ahead and accomplish the goals that she certainly has set, as it seems as though the Grand Inquisitor has her ready with orders from the Dark Lord to go ahead and take out the Jedi. One of the things that I loved about this trailer, guys, was probably the narration that we wind up getting in here from the Grand Inquisitor when it comes to him talking about the idea of how to hunt down Jedi, right? That the key to hunting down Jedi is simply patience. The fact that, when it comes to Jedi, like they can't contain themselves, they can't control themselves. There's an urge to want to certainly help people, if you will, right? So it feels very much like the Grand Inquisitor, while definitely explaining the patience that he has, understands that, look, they're going to reveal themselves in time. It feels very much like the Inquisitors are probably really putting people into dire situations to where then these Jedi who are in hiding really have to kind of step out and use their abilities. The idea of a Jedi just sitting on the sidelines and not helping people is something that we don't hear very much about. So I really love the idea and just the plan that the Grand Inquisitor lets us in on when it comes to the trailer, because I feel like we definitely have seen it before in the past. Stuart, you brought up Jedi Fallen Order. It reminds me very much of when Cal went into hiding. The idea that he winds up witnessing this huge accident that's certainly taking place, and even though knowing he's got to keep his powers in check, he decides to use them even in the sense of danger. Now, while briefly he uses them, people are always watching and they immediately wind up noticing him. And this is where the hunt begins for Cal when it comes to the Fallen Order. So it feels very much like that sort of situation in here, that maybe these Inquisitors are really doing their part to try and draw out these Jedi, because they know that they certainly can't contain themselves. But this gets me really happy. I think the fact that we're getting ourselves a brand new Inquisitor here in Reva, just adding to the plethora of Star Wars villains for us to certainly enjoy, and to see that she's going to have a significant role in here does get me excited, because listen, at the end of the day, while we certainly want to see the return of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm sure majority of this story is certainly around surrounding him, you also have to build up your antagonists, right? And you also have to build up your villains to really raise those stakes and that tension. And so I love the idea that we're getting ourselves a brand new and fresh villain for Obi-Wan. So let me pass this over to you, Stuart. What do you think about Inquisitor Reva in regards to what they're saying about her in here?
It sounds like we're going to have another great Star Wars villain, of course. Yeah, it gets me excited. The fact that both the writer and the actor are excited about this character. And yeah, the idea that they're taking that kind of idea from the Grand Inquisitor, the idea that, like, Jedi can't stay hidden, in times of, like, great crisis and danger. So the idea that she's going to use that against Obi-Wan, yeah, it gets me excited, and also gets me worried, because it seems like there might be some dark turns coming into this story as well.
Yeah, there certainly might be. And then one last section here to this article before we move on, and then Indy, I'm going to throw this to you as we're just as we wrap up here. But really, the ending comes for this article, and again, I would recommend checking out this article, because it does take place in regards to just really following the careers of Ewan and Hayden, and really how we've come from the prequels to this particular moment. It's a really great article, but the last couple of sections in this article says that the show itself has been billed as one 6-episode season, but with plenty room to play with before the events of A New Hope. Could there be more? This is what Deborah Chow says. She says, it was definitely conceived as a limited series, and it is one big story with a beginning, middle, and end. The approach has always been that it is one full story, according to Deborah Chow. But leave it to the studio head to keep any and all options on the table. As Kathleen Kennedy says, it's something we certainly talk about in regards to maybe a possible extension. She says, mainly because everybody came together and had such an incredible time. Ewan had an incredible time. Hayden had an incredible time. So certainly from that point of view, everybody involved would love to see this not end. But we have to really spend our time asking the question, why would we do it? If we were to decide to do anything more with the Obi-Wan character, we'd have to really answer the question, why? So let me throw this over to you, Indy, here to go ahead and wrap up this article. certainly billed as a limited series, 6 episodes. Chow mentions this story does have a beginning, middle, and end, but Kathleen Kennedy clearly keeping it open, but also pushing the question as to why. Does this at least um how do you feel about the idea of this potentially being one season? And if it were to turn into a second season, do you like the mindset that Kennedy is at least approaching when it comes to why we should have a second season, if any?
I look at it like this. The best Star Wars movie we probably had in the past, 10 years was Rogue One, and that was a one-off, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that this being a limited series, I believe the fact that they made it a limited series was because they wanted to wait to see the response. The actors that they have are older, and it's only so much story that I feel that could be told with Obi-Wan, because we know how his story ends in between without like retconning everything that we already know or trying to tell us everything that we already know. But if it's to the point where it's such a success as, let's say, like the Batman, which is supposed to be a one-off, but you guys already know we're going to get a sequel because of how well that movie is doing, why would you leave money on the table and not do it? Even if it's not following Obi-Wan and starts to spin off into other characters that we get introduced to, you know what I'm saying, now as continuation, similar to what the Book of Boba Fett did. So you always hedge your bets on what's going, because you might have people, you know how the fandom is. If they cry, and if we cry enough, if something was good enough and we want more, we'll eventually get more. I mean, look at I Am Legend. And now, 15 years later, we're getting a sequel. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it regardless, but I still want to not jump to the conclusion that there will be a second season until I know what the first one did.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I don't necessarily need a second season. Let me see how the first season certainly goes, and then we'll kind of go from there. But it does at least give me some confidence in regards to what Kathleen Kennedy is saying, that it's something that they are clearly aren't trying to just push onto the fans. As long as this season is certainly well received, there's always a possibility. I think the fact that we are only taking place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, it does leave open a significant time period still, what, maybe an additional like 7 or 8 years that they can kind of play with even before A New Hope, if they had another tale that they definitely wanted to tell when it comes to Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I definitely appreciate the idea of at least keeping it open, but the idea of also understanding if you do bring him back, it's got to be a really great story, and it definitely has got to make sense. And it feels like that's a huge change of direction and course from Disney than where they were maybe like, say, 10 years ago when they started out this trilogy. You know what I mean, Stuart?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So we'll see what happens here, guys. But I got to tell you, man, my anticipation level for this series continues to rise. I'm pretty sure we're probably going to get several different articles also later on, whether that be from like Total Film, Empire Magazine, as we get closer to Obi-Wan Kenobi. So once we get further details, we'll definitely go ahead and let you know. But guys, just overall, real quick, what's your level of anticipation for Obi-Wan?
I think I'm more excited for this than I was for the Boba Fett TV series. Yeah, so pretty freaking high.
What about you, Indy?
I
remember you mentioning Star Wars to you is lightsabers, right? I know there was a reason why you weren't so pumped about the Boba Fett, right? You're not a big underground gangster bounty hunter type of guy, but when it comes to lightsabers, you're usually all in, man. So what's your hype level?
For me, a 7. I'm hyped to see it, but compared to something like Moon Knight's a 10 for me. So
Gotcha.
This is 7. A 7's good. A 7 means I'm gonna watch it while it airs. You know what I'm saying? With something else would be I'll watch it after it comes out. So that's still good. But my most anticipated show is still Moon Knight.
All right. Well, yeah, you're definitely going to get that sooner rather than later here, man. What's that, like 2 weeks away? Maybe even less than that. It'll be here before we know it, man. So yeah, it's right around the corner. But guys, let us know your thoughts when it comes to Obi-Wan Kenobi series. You hear all this stuff from Ewan, Hayden, Kathleen Kennedy, Deborah Chow, Joby Harold, the writer. Well, what are your levels of thoughts in regards to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. All right. And with that, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic as we go ahead and dive into some Marvel discussion for you guys today. We still got like 5 other topics to definitely go ahead and break down for you guys today. So we probably will skim through some of these, honestly. But when it comes to Marvel, ladies and gentlemen, one of the movies that I think a lot of us have been really anticipating for quite some time is the idea of a Deadpool 3. We checked out the first 2 Deadpool movies when it was over there on Fox, but ever since the Fox and Disney merger, it's been really up in the air in regards to how Disney and Marvel were certainly going to handle the Deadpool character. It feels very much as though Disney is certainly not going to really hold anything back so much when it comes to tackling the next Deadpool movie, as Marvel, along with Ryan Reynolds, have been in heavy talks in regards to finally bringing this Deadpool movie to life. And so while we definitely have some of the pieces coming together, not everything has been set in stone as of right now. But as of this week, we finally did get ourselves at least a major announcement in regards to who's going to be helming the upcoming trilogy for Deadpool Part 3, if you will. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Andy, did we lose you? Let me go ahead and oh, there you go. I was wondering where you went. Let's go ahead and dive into this article here. This is from the Hollywood Reporter, letting us know that when it comes to Deadpool 3, Shawn Levy has been tapped to go ahead and direct Ryan Reynolds in a Marvel movie. This is an exclusive report from the Hollywood Reporter. It says screenwriters Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick are returning to the franchise after working on the first 2. But it says Shawn Levy has been tapped, or maybe it should be targeted, to direct Deadpool 3. The director is in negotiations to team up with Ryan Reynolds for the Marvel property after previously collaborating on the 20th century pandemic era hit Free Guy and the just released sci-fi adventure movie The Adam Project on Netflix. Fans have been championed at the bit for another chapter in the raunchy, violent, and of course hilarious Deadpool series since the 2018 sequel. It says frequent Ryan Reynolds collaborators, Brett Reese and Paul Wernick, who did pen the script for the first 2 films, will now also be working on Deadpool 3 as well. So, looks like long-time collaboration with Ryan Reynolds. Shawn Levy, who just worked with him in Free Guy along with the Adam Project, is set to go ahead and direct Deadpool 3. Now, I will say this, while I personally have not watched the Adam Project yet over on Netflix, it is on my to watch list. I did just recently check out Free Guy, and I had a lot of fun with that movie. Look, if Ryan Reynolds is really going back to going to bat for Shawn Levy, he clearly must love working with him. The fact that they've got 2 back-to-back movies that I think for the most part are gaining some praise from viewers. I think a lot of people probably really appreciated Free Guy for certainly what it was. I certainly did love the direction in that particular film. And I am excited to go ahead and check out the Adam Project, which I don't know if it's trending over on Netflix or if it's in the top 10 or not as of right now, but I have heard good things from the Adam Project when it comes to the collaboration of these 2. So just based off of like the tone and the vibe that I've gotten from Free Guy and what I have seen of the Adam Project, I do think that he could be a really good fit for sort of that comedy aspect and maybe even that raunchy aspect a little bit when it comes to Deadpool, just that fun-loving sort of mentality that he definitely has in regards to the adventures that we certainly find him on in some of these movies. I think somebody like a Shawn Levy could really tap into that and really understands Ryan Reynolds as an actor to bring somebody like Deadpool to life in this new vision. So I love the idea of bringing somebody else on in Shawn Levy here. And hopefully continue to make the Deadpool franchise a big success. But let me throw this over to you first, Stuart. What are your thoughts in regards to Shawn Levy set to direct Deadpool 3? And have you seen any of his previous work?
I've seen a few of his other movies, but not too many of them from the looks of it. I've definitely seen the Night at the Museum movies though, and I really enjoyed
Oh,
at
did he
least the
direct
first
those?
one. Yeah, he directed
Nice.
all three of them. Yeah, and I really liked the first one out of them. So yeah, I think this actually makes a lot of sense as for directors to choose, because the only other one I could think of that would have like kind of come close to being perfect for Deadpool 3 would have been James Gunn, and I feel like he's probably way too busy and has other things he'd rather work on. So I think this is probably the best director they could go with, because the big thing is that they got a director that works really well with Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds, you can tell he's like just that kind of actor that really wants to have a little bit of creative control when it comes to the way Deadpool is used in his movies. Because I know there was I don't think it was bad friction, but I know there was some there was some like friction between him and the director when it came to Deadpool 2. So it doesn't surprise me that they wanted to go with a new director for this third movie. So I think with the two of them working together, and then I know that they said that they're going for an R rating, but if they changed their mind last minute and they wanted to go with a PG-13 rating, at least this director has kind of proven that he can do PG-13 comedy really well with, again, Night at the Museum and, of course, Free Guy. So, yeah, I think overall, yeah, I think this is pretty interesting news. And I think it makes, again, I think it was probably the safest bet for Disney to make. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I think it feels very much like a safe and fun choice because of the reliability with what he's done with Ryan Reynolds in the past. But I'm glad you brought up the Night of the Museum movies too, because I actually was a really big fan of those also, and I didn't know he tackled those. So just even more confidence in regards to why they wind up getting this guy to go ahead and direct this film. But what about you, Indy? Are you excited to see what Shawn Levy has done, and have you had the opportunity to check out his work with Ryan Reynolds in the Adam Project or Free Guy?
Adam Project is amazing from what I've seen. I haven't got to, watch all of it. Free
Gotcha.
Guy was a diamond in the rough. Like that came out of nowhere. The promotion and stuff for it was excellent, but it was just one of them things that when it came out on streaming, I just clicked play and I was just astonished at how amazingly that movie was put together.
Yeah, I agree.
And to me, it was Deadpool in a video game without the costume. It felt like a Deadpool dream to me with the different references and stuff that they had in the game. So the movie, I keep saying the game. So I'm all for to see what he'd be able to do with a movie like this. And I wasn't a fan of Deadpool 2. Like I'm one of them who that I know people loved it and stuff like that, but I watched it. I felt like it was a convoluted mess. Like it was entertaining, but I'm like, what are they doing with this? The Juggernaut stuff was funny, but like, what's really going on here? The first one to me was a masterpiece, and I want to get back to something along the reins of that. And for being under Disney and going, I think it will really work pretty well.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm kind of in the same camp that you are, Indy. While I missed Free Guy in the movie theaters, I did see it on streaming. And I just thought to myself one day, like, I'm just going to put this on because it did look interesting. It did look fun. It's something I wanted to check out. But when I turned it on, I don't think I expected to have as much fun with the movie as I certainly did. So to be able to see what those two, or Shawn Levy and Ryan Reynolds, are able to do together, to even see again, while I haven't finished the Adam Project, to see the scope and how big as far as a sci-fi adventure the Adams Project certainly is, lets me know that Shawn Levy, you can't really trap him in the box, that he's kind of familiar with doing these bigger films, if you will. So I do think that taps him really well for an MCU film. Now, you did mention the idea too when it comes to Deadpool 2 that you weren't necessarily the biggest fan, and I have heard some people kind of mixed reactions in regards to Deadpool 2. And while the writers themselves are certainly coming back to go ahead and do the third one, I am hoping with a new director on board, like somebody like a Shawn Levy, maybe he can kind of bring a unique and different vision from what we wind up getting in the past two Deadpools, to really just leave his mark on this and make this feel uniquely different and a nice little change of pace for the Deadpool series. Do you think that's something that we might get, you guys?
Probably. I think the one thing I hope they don't do it Deadpool, and I'm not too worried about it because looking at the way they handled Free Guy, I'm pretty sure they'll handle Deadpool in a similar way. Is that I actually really do kind of like how the Deadpool movies can go from being really funny to also having some pretty dark moments in them, especially like with the second movie. So I kind of hope we do keep that aspect of the Deadpool, within the third movie. I hope, because I know that a lot of people didn't like the darker aspects of the second movie, and I kind of get the point, which is that it felt like the way they treated it, like the dark elements in kind of way too much of a funny way, just didn't work. So I can kind of see why that might worry, or that would be something they would want to change. I just hope they don't fully get rid of it is all.
I definitely get you. But guys, look, we want to know your thoughts. These are just simply our A+ opinions, but we definitely want to go ahead and know yours. What do you guys think about the idea of a collaborator with Ryan Reynolds over the past couple of films and Shawn Levy now being tapped to go ahead and be the director for Deadpool 3? Do you think this is a great collaboration based off of the work that they've done before? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And with that out of the way, Stuart, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Another Marvel topic for you guys today as we continue to push towards one of Indy's most highly anticipated MCU series that winds up dropping this year in Moon Knight. Very excited for it. I believe it winds up dropping March 30th. So maybe just like 2 weeks away or so. So definitely mark your calendars. We certainly will be reviewing Moon Knight for you guys here on A+ Hero Report. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do yourselves a favor, guys, if you're looking for your home for Moon Knight reviews. But this past week, the marketing push certainly continues, as not only did we get ourselves 3 brand new character posters for Moon Knight, but we also got ourselves a little bit of a new featurette that wind up actually showcasing some brand new footage and some little snippets of interviews between Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke as well, guys. So let's go ahead and dive into this, all 3 of us, because we did get ourselves a brand new featurette here this week. We also got the brand new character posters here as we see Oscar Isaac in here, and then 2 different iterations of Moon Knight. One more classic comic book costume here, and a more modern take, if you will, of Moon Knight over the past several years here. Also, I'm assuming one's Mark and one's Steven. I could be wrong here, Indy, because I'm not too familiar when it comes to the Moon Knight character or the idea of all of his multiple personalities. But it definitely is something that they're really going to be diving into. So let me throw this over to you, Indy. Have you had the opportunity to check out the featurette? And if so, if there's anything in the featurette that really stood out to you in regards to images, footage, or anything that was said?
Somebody watch Legion. I know that the characteristics of the characters are a little bit of the same, but I'm just talking about watching how stuff is shot and everything like that. Somebody really paid attention to what they did in Legion. And and if that's the case, it has me so friggin' hyped to see this show, because I loved Legion. I love character. For some reason, I love characters with multiple personalities and dealing with mental issues and stuff like that, because it makes it harder to predict what is going to happen in the show itself, especially even if you're up to date on the comics and different stuff like that, because you don't know which way they're going to take. So, I mean, I think I even tried to review Legion and just gave up like after the 3rd episode.
Legion was a gigantic mind fuck, man. It really was.
Yeah. So I'm looking to get something like that out of Moon Knight, except with action, because I really feel like a lot of the action is going to be Daredevil-esque, and to the point where this series might replace my love for Daredevil being like one of the best Marvel series made. So I'm looking very excited for this, and I just can't wait for people to check out and be able to appreciate this character in his own right.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. This is one that I'm really excited and looking forward to. If anything, one of the takeaways that I really enjoyed from the featurette in here, somebody mentioned the idea that the tone for this movie is going to be a balance between Fight Club and Indiana Jones, and I've never heard of that comparison, or like the bridging of these 2 worlds into anything associated with a comic book movie before, but to see the amount of effort and the vastness and just the scope of them diving into paranormal aspects, but yet some sort of adventure, kind of gets me excited. But what do you think, and Stuart, when you hear what they're saying in regards to from this featurette and some of the images we wind up getting?
Everything we've been looking at from the images and then just from the footage that we've been getting for the show, it basically looks like a Marvel Netflix show if they had an MCU budget. I love that they want to go with a much darker tone for this. I freaking love that costume design, like both of them, honestly. I think they both look absolutely fantastic. And I love that Oscar Isaac seems to be super into this role. Like, this seems like something he's going out of his way to promote, like, so not even doing it for Disney, like promoting it for himself, because it seems like a role that he had a lot of fun with and that he's really proud of. So I'm definitely excited to see how he does.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, man. He mentions in this featurette too, just the idea of how serious they're taking the mental aspects of this, the mental disorders, especially when it comes to the multiple personalities. So I think that the seriousness in which they're taking it definitely sort of sets the tone, and kind of jumping off of what Indy said, the idea of handling a character with multiple personalities, there's a really big opportunity here for a lot of twists and turns. And I think they even mentioned in the featurette that there are going to be some surprises that we certainly don't see coming. And with the way that this season or this show looks like it's being produced, I mean, it just looks weird and creepy. I love the vibes that I'm really getting from it. I've mentioned this before countless occasions. It feels like a weird, like, M. Night Shyamalan sort of like there's supposed to be some twists and turns that I don't see coming, sort of thing. So I'm really appreciating the vibe that this movie is going to be. But I think if anything, I think the vastness and the scope of everything that they're going to explore looks really fascinating to me. Indy, Stuart, one of the things that I did find interesting here in the new footage too was Ethan Hawke's character. I'm not too familiar with him as a villain, but I love the shot that we wind up having. I don't know if it was like an astral plane realm or wherever the hell they were at in the footage, but it looked like one of the Egyptian gods or something. It was like three people, and they're standing in front of a black sky that's got like these lights kind of streaming across it. It looked super creepy to me, man. I have no idea what I was watching there, but it definitely feels like there certainly are some supernatural elements involved in this as well.
You know what I think his motivation is going to be? Same kind of motivation we get from all these type of villains, where Oscar Isaac gets a hold of this power that he's been looking for his whole life, and that's going to be his motivation for being evil. The fact that Oscar Isaac got it and not him.
Oh, I mean, that it could very well be the case, man. It very well could be the case.
And then on top of that, the fact that Oscar Isaac sees it as a curse, whereas he would see it as a blessing. And that's just, so that Clark Kent and Lex Luthor dynamic, I hope that's what they go for.
He definitely comes across as like a religious zealot, almost like somebody that's maybe is forming his own cult or something like that. So I can easily see that idea and concept of storyline that you mentioned maybe making its way into this series. But we'll definitely see how it's developed here. Marcelino, what's up, Marcelino? Good to see you. He says Moon Knight is almost here. It's time for the true Batman to make his debut. So it looks like Marcelino, along with Indy, are really thrilled with what we're getting. Shout out to Michael Rhymes as well for certainly coming through here today also. So thank you very much, guys. But remember, listen, at the end of the day, these are just simply our A+ opinions, but we certainly want to go ahead and know yours. What did you guys think of the new Moon Knight footage and featurette that we wind up getting? If you haven't checked it out, it is currently over on our Facebook page for you guys to go ahead and check out, along with the character posters. The posters look clean to me, and I agree with you, Stuart. Like the costume designs look incredible. There's even another shot in this featurette that shows another transformation of Oscar Isaac's character from his human persona into Moon Knight. It looked great. There's even a cool superhero landing, I think, of him in this costume. in the featurette also. So some great new footage and great new details to kind of truly see what the focus of this series is going to be about. And I'm sure we'll get ourselves more featurettes and TV spots as we get closer to the series itself.
For sure. Also, it's funny because I remember at the peak of Marvel Netflix, they were mentioning that Moon Knight was a character that they wanted to do at some point. In retrospect, I am so glad that never happened, because then we wouldn't be getting this. It would have looked a lot like I'm not saying it would have been bad, but it would have looked a lot cheaper than what we're getting here.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. But guys, again, let us know your thoughts in regards to the Moon Knight debut here on Disney Plus. I believe it's March 30th, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely go ahead and mark your calendars, guys. All right, Stuart, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into some DC news, man. We've got like 3 big DC topics that we want to go ahead and talk with you guys about as we wind up changing course, because, Stuart, the DCEU is changing yet again. This week, man, the movie slate for DCEU films, I think a lot of us coming into 2022 were really excited for the slate of movies that we certainly had on board. And it seems like, unfortunately, Stuart, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for some of these movies. I am kind of curious to see if there's any explanation in regards to the move as we dive into this particular article. Some movies being pushed back, so we have to wait just a little bit longer, and others pushed forward. So let's see what this does to the DCEU slate of films, Stuart. Let's go ahead and dive into this, man. This comes to us from good old Variety.com, letting us know that when it comes to the DCEU, Aquaman 2 and The Flash have officially been delayed and pushed to 2023. Stuart, we were so close. We were so close to some of these movies, but they've both been pushed to 2023. On the other hand, though, Shazam 2 moves to Christmas of this year. So we're actually getting this movie rather soon. So let's go ahead and dive into this and see if we can make some understanding. So it says Warner Brothers has shuffled the release dates of several movies, including Black Adam, The Flash, Aquaman 2, Wonka, and Shazam 2. It says Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and The Flash are both being pushed from 2022 to 23 due to COVID-induced production delays with visual effects. So I guess their visual effects teams are getting bombarded with COVID. Is that what that means? I have no idea.
I think it's just because when doing visual effects, it's really difficult if everyone's doing it at home instead of doing it all together in the studio. Because then, you got to wait for delays when it comes to like emailing assets to different people, which I can tell you from college, that is actually a really annoying process.
Well, I mean, that certainly would make sense. I mean, look, visual effects already takes a while. I feel like that's a huge chunk of post-production for a lot of these movies already. So the fact that they're already kind of being hindered and hampered with COVID and how their production schedules are probably changed with them having to work remotely, probably definitely adds on top of the time that it usually normally takes. So that definitely makes sense, Stuart. It says the Jason Momoa sequel is being pushed from December 16th of this year to March 17th of 2023. So it looks like maybe the Aquaman movie is going to be kicking off sort of that spring summer vibes for big blockbuster movies, similar to how we just had the Batman release this March. So it seems as though Aquaman is probably going to be taking that place. March 17th of 2023, even though we were supposed to get Aquaman 2 this December 16th. Meanwhile, Ezra Miller's first solo outing as the Flash is speeding away from November again, Stuart. Another movie we were supposed to be getting this year, November 4th of 2022 to now June 23 of 23. To be honest with you, Stuart, I think that date works really great for the Flash. And I say that because now it becomes sort of a summer blockbuster. And when you're dealing with the Flash and the multiversal aspects of things, that's probably a really great place to certainly put it at. But my fear now, Stuart, is the fact that this is like a full year separated from Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness, and I could just feel like people already been complaining, oh, they're just copying Doctor Strange. This feels like another reason for them to push that false narrative, if you will. So yeah, 2 movies taken from us this year, Stuart, and pushed into next year. That's 2 movies, but Stuart, sadly, here comes a third. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam is being pushed back 3 months to October. Okay. At least it's still this year,
It's
guys.
still this year.
Freaked me out for a second. So it's being pushed back 3 months to October 21st. And then, of course, we've got the League of Super Pets moving to July 29th, which was originally Black Adam's original date. So here's the order of movies we're getting now, Stuart. League of Super Pets, July 29th. Don't know who's going to see that one. I probably will now that I have a kid. Unbelievable. Black Adam being moved to October 21st of 2022. So at least we're still getting that DC film this year. But unfortunately, Aquaman to March 17th of 23 and The Flash to June 23rd of 23. But the good news, Shazam Fury of the Gods is moving up a few months, Stuart. So now we've got Shazam Fury of Gods instead of June 2nd on 2023, we're now getting it December 12th, 2022, just in time for Christmas season. And honestly, Stuart, I kind of dig that just because of the fact that now we literally have Black Adam October 21st of this year, and then 2 months later on December 12th, Shazam, the Fury of Gods. So they've done a much better job, I feel like, of at least moving these films around, at least when it comes to the Black Adam and Shazam. We know that these two were connected at the hips, if you will. I'm assuming maybe this means that there are bigger connective tissues between those 2 movies, or maybe we'll see them brawling a lot sooner than we expected, or at least coming face to face sooner than we certainly expected. So I like the moves for Black Adam and Shazam, but I am bummed at the fact that The Flash and Aquaman 2 have now moved because I'm waiting to see exactly how different this world when it comes to the DCEU will be now that The Flash has certainly been pushed. But Indy's back. So, Indy, I do want to go ahead and throw this over to you. You hear all the big moves, Aquaman and The Flash into 2023, but now Black Adam and Shazam at the end of this year. What are your thoughts, sir?
I don't believe that The Flash is coming out ever. I think the movie will just get shelved. Aquaman, I don't care because the first Aquaman was cool, but it wasn't something they spent 45 minutes walking in the desert. I just don't know anymore. The League of Super Pets or superheroes or whatever, League of Super Pets and Black Adam made sense to me for those to switch. Black Adam is a bigger movie and needs to be on a bigger day. The League of Super Pets is the slot that they're in now seems like it's going to be perfect for, like peak summer vacation for kids, what I'm saying, movie to see. And I feel like they're running from Marvel movies. For some reason, to me, I feel like they're trying to get as far away from Marvel movies as they can so they can monopolize what's going on. And when it comes to that, maybe that's the smartest move they possibly could make, because think about it. Think about how big Doctor Strange has become. When that movie was announced, we were like, okay, seems cool. We like Doctor Strange. Now it's like the epic center of everything we will see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This person's going to be in it. This person's going to be in it. Run from that movie, people. That's all you have to do is run from that movie. And for people, and I heard you make a comment that people are saying that The Flash is just ripping off Doctor Strange. The funny thing is, this Flash has been in development so long that Doctor Strange 2 wasn't even thought about when they started making The Flash. So if anything, The Flash might be Doctor Strange might be ripping off The Flash, but since it's coming out first, it's always going to look like it was its idea first, because when looking at what's happening in Doctor Strange, I feel that It's everything that the Flash went.
Flash, yeah.
We're doing this and we're doing this, and then Doctor Strange writers went, "Oh, we're gonna add that too." Then, like, and that's what it feels like to me. So it's gonna be interesting to see what goes on. I am really looking forward to the Black Adam movie because it's a $7 production, and I feel like Dwayne Johnson's company has not missed since the time they're able to start being put in charge of doing things. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they put together for that, because I mean, what's the last movie they missed on? Even his bad movies make money. So we're going to see what happens. And I just don't care about the Flash anymore. And Aquaman, I'm just ready for Mrs. Lisa Cosby to come over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Hercules or something. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's get her as Red Sonja. They need a new lead for the Red Sonja movie.
Yeah.
I will say this, yes, Indy, if I would agree with you, please avoid all Marvel movies if you can, if you're Warner Brothers at this point in time. If you are scheduled to be, say, I don't know, like a week out from a Marvel movie, push that to like 2-3 weeks. You definitely need some buffer between those for sure.
What's funny is that, I think that's what happened, is that I'm sure with the Flash movie, for example, like they probably only needed like an extra couple of months, but because of how much competition there is now with other superhero movies, I feel like they had to move it that far along because there were so many other movies scheduled for any other like release date they wanted to put it in, that it would have meant like going up against a Marvel movie or some other big blockbuster.
And you know what's going to happen? It's going to be, oh, that's the Flash date. Insert Avengers movie here. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be some other big movie that Marvel goes, oh, we'll just put this here by the Flash. And next thing you know, okay, the Flash is coming out 2025.
What do you think, Stuart, in regards? Oh, no, go ahead. Go. What are you going to say? But I was just going to ask you to give your opinion on the moving around of release dates.
There was almost one I remember back in 2016 where they almost had a Civil War and Batman v Superman coming out the same weekend.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Warner Brothers finally caved and pushed it back for a few months. But or no, I think they moved it forward a few months. I'm not sure which. But regardless, like that would have, oh my God, both movies would have done like nowhere near as good if they had done. No one would have won in that situation, basically. So I think that's another thing that they're kind of looking at, is they it's not necessarily that they're afraid of the competition. I think it's just like, if they release it too close to a Marvel movie, what you're going to do is you're going to make it so both that movie and the movie that you're releasing both don't make as much money. And it's like, why would you want to do that? No one wins in that situation.
Marvel movies print money. If you put a Squirrel Girl movie out right now, it's going to sell.
I think they saw what happened with No Way Home and Matrix, and they were like, we saw how the Matrix flopped on that one, so let's if anything, let's not have that happen again, because Matrix definitely didn't make the money it deserved.
And it wasn't a bad movie, and we don't know what the Flash is going to be. That's the problem. How good of a movie do they actually have, or are they living off of cameos? Because that's the one thing about Doctor Strange. Yeah, they decided to throw a whole bunch of cameos in the movie, but I really feel like the story element is still going to be there if we learn anything from just the television shows like Loki and stuff like that.
See, I think I definitely get what you're saying there, Indy. I guess for me, I'm not so much worried about that when it comes to the Flash, because I haven't seen nearly as much. Well, granted, we haven't clearly seen as much footage for the Flash as we have with Doctor Strange. But anytime when I do see a Flash trailer, it feels a little bit more focused. Like while it definitely has some Easter eggs and new characters, it doesn't feel like it's to the level or extent of anything that I've seen in Doctor Strange. So, like, I think my worry about cameo fodder and just being fan service probably lands more on Doctor Strange as of right now than it does the Flash. I think Marvel will tell a fantastic story regardless, but my more worry about that when it comes to cameos is more Doctor Strange for me personally, at least.
Yeah, I think with the Flash, I don't think they're going to expand that much beyond the Tim Burton universe. It really just seems like they're trying to expand to the Burton verse, and that's about it. Maybe a couple other cameos here and there, but I don't think it's going to be like the Flash going from one universe to another, introducing more and more cameos. I think there will be cameos, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be focusing on Ezra Miller's Flash first.
I will say this. When it comes to this story, I think for me, my concern right now is, yeah, I think we were really expecting when it comes to the Flash to really shake up the DCEU, and the new sort of status quo with whatever it is that the Flash is doing over there. I do wonder if these movies that are being moved around, are they dependent on that change that's coming in the Flash? Like, it would be really weird if we get the Flash movie, there are some changes, but then we go into movies, say like Shazam, that was supposed to come out after the Flash, and there not be really sort of any changes to that particular world. Like, I do wonder, like when we think of Batgirl, right? Like Batgirl was set to go ahead and be released in December of this year, but a lot of that I think is very dependent on what happens with the Flash movie, right? The idea that we're getting Michael Keaton sort of into that world, unless this is a case of the changes aren't coming to the DCEU. Well, no, never mind, because I was going to say J.K. Simmons is in Batgirl. So it does feel like there does have to be a significant change that happens in the Flash to affect Batgirl. But are we still getting Batgirl on December, or does that mean now that gets pushed after Flashpoint? You know what I mean? Like, I am kind of curious if the moving around of these dates is really going to mess up the storytelling purposes that maybe DC certainly might have in store for some of these movies. What do you guys think, though?
I think that's kind of my biggest concern too, specifically with Batgirl, because that's the one where they're setting up Michael Keaton to be the DCEU Batman,
Right?
And it's gonna make very little sense to casual viewers who don't keep up with like DC news like we do. When they go into Batgirl and they watch and see that Michael Keaton is Batman, but they also see that J.K. Simmons is Commissioner Gordon. I feel like that's where there's going to be like that big confusion going in with a lot of the just casual viewers.
Yeah, I think for me, I think my main thought was, maybe it was the case that Batgirl just takes place in a different universe. Like, maybe it's not connected to the DCEU, but then I remember J.K. Simmons certainly being there, and it's like, oh well, he's already been a part of the DCEU from the Justice League. So I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping Batgirl still tends to be the ramifications of what happens in the Flash, and not Warner Brothers all of a sudden changing course and saying now the Batgirl, oh, it just takes place in another universe. Our Commissioner Gordon just happens to be the same. I hope that's not the case. So I am a little bit disappointed, because to me, this feels like if these dominoes are now falling, what's going to happen with other films like Batgirl and Blue Beetle? Are those going to be moved around also? So Warner Brothers, just good luck. I hope you can keep it all straight. You know what I mean?
I think what happened is when they did the release dates for all these movies originally, I think they were thinking that the COVID restrictions would be like more like gone by then, which they kind of are, but people are still like kind of preferring to work at home. And I feel like that was just something that Warner Brothers wasn't expecting. So with that, they had to adjust with the fact that, they're all working in separate rooms. It's going to take more time to do these VFX shots. So I think now that they kind of know this is going to be a factor, hopefully going forward, they can kind of foresee this and not have to worry about like, pushing a movie out too soon or anything like that.
I'm trying to think what the other DCEU movies we have coming out this year then. So I know we had the Batman just recently. So does that mean we're not getting anything else until...
Well, we got
Super Pets, right?
Yeah.
Super Pets this year.
And then Black Adam
Black
and
Adam
Shazam.
and okay, so we gotta wait all the way till October for another DCEU
Yeah.
movie. Okay,
And it was funny too, because I remember like telling people, I'm like, wow, this is going to be DC's year. Like, I know Marvel has Multiverse of Madness and a couple other TV shows coming out, but for the most part, you know, DC has 4 really like films that look really big, and I was so sure that they're all going to be a really big hit and everything. So it's too bad that you know, they didn't think about this before, or they didn't get started on the VFX beforehand when making the scheduling, because it just like, I feel like there's got to be some level of disappointment when it comes to like Warner Brothers executives, like, oh, I thought we were going to have all of these movies coming out this year. Apparently not. Marvel's still going to have the one up on us.
Bro, I think the problem is that Marvel can put out the one movie and have it equal the 4 movies that they're trying to put out. I mean, because they went, look, Multiverse of Madness, you want Scarlet Witch? Check. You want Patrick Stewart? Check. You want, you know what I'm saying? We could possibly have Wolverine, the X-Men, this, that. Multiverse of Madness feels like it's bigger than just a Doctor Strange movie. It feels like an event, like when you watched Endgame or Infinity War. And I think that's what they're up against, because they don't have a movie that feels like that other than The Flash, and The Flash isn't going to be ready anytime soon. So what do? I mean, we'll release the Batman, which did well, you know what I'm saying, is doing very well, but is getting bashed more than anything, which I still don't understand. It's a good movie, but like Tyler said, like what if Mephisto pops up? Like if something extravagant happens in Doctor Strange, we're not talking about anything else for a while.
I'm so over this Mephisto stuff, bro. I'm so done with Mephisto. I've done with Mephisto for such a long time. The first moment WandaVision dropped, I mean, like, God, I have not been able to avoid Mephisto for like a year in every MCU project. Please, no Mephisto. If you haven't pulled the trigger on Mephisto, if Doctor Strange does not pull the trigger on Mephisto, I don't want to hear shit about Mephisto ever again. Please, just don't bring that across us ever again. I'm so over
it. If Mephisto ends up being in Doctor Strange, I want like some really bad fourth wall breaking joke where they're just like, oh yeah, Mephisto, yeah, he's been here the whole time. You clearly hear from WandaVision. Every fan theory about him just, you know, being there in the background is true. You happy now?
Yeah, for real. All right, guys. But
one last thing I'll say that's really bizarre when it comes to some of the DC lineups is that earlier this year they had that trailer that showed like all 4 movies that are coming out this year, and you know, really cool teaser. I guess not really a trailer, but you know, where it was all 4 of the movies back to back, you know, as like a small tease for all of them. And we're still playing that teaser for the Batman, despite the fact that we're still advertising them all as coming out this year. And this weekend we had a lady from Warner Brothers who, you know, usually comes by whenever we have a new Warner Brothers movie to make sure all the correct trailers are there. So I thought she was going to tell us that we had to take that off, but nope. Apparently Warner Brothers still wants that teaser for the Batman, even though it's kind of false advertising now.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard that. Let's see here. I will say this. I do love the positioning now, at least of Black Adam and Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're going to get to really dive into their world in the last half of this year does sound really exciting to me. So I'm at least glad that we're going to get our JSA and maybe some really interesting dynamics between Black Adam and Shazam. Do you think either of them will pop up in each other's movie?
I think it'll be a post-credit scene in either one of them. If I had to guess, I would probably say we'll see a post-credit scene with Shazam and Black Adam, just because that one's coming out first. And usually the goal is to try to get people to go see the next big movie coming out. And I think that would be the easiest way to do it.
What do you think, Indy?
I think we have no choice, considering we're not going to see Superman in either movie. I mean, what's the second best thing you do is you have Black Adam show up for Shazam, you have Shazam show up for Black Adam, since you can't get the payoff from the whole Superman cameo at the end of Shazam.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. But we'll see, guys. We'll see what happens. Marcelino does ask, what year does Black Adam take place? I don't think that they've announced it as of yet, like the time period, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. If you guys can check it out, definitely go ahead and let me know. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. These are just our A+ opinions. How do you feel about the DCEU movie slate being delayed and move forward when it comes to some of these movies? Do you like the release date windows that you find these movies in now? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And with that out of the way, we will continue along with the DCEU talk. As Indy and Stuart, we just brought up the idea of the Batman and what it's currently doing out in the box office. So I thought it would be a pretty good time to go ahead and really dive into the world of the Batman and what Matt Reeves wind up creating for us, because there's a plethora of content still coming out from that particular universe and world to look forward to. In regards to the Batman, and you brought this up, Indy, it's actually doing relatively well at the box office as of right now. As of today, if you go over to Box Office Mojo, and that's just today, I'm sure this will probably change by the end of the weekend as well. But as of right now, $463 million worldwide, and the movie is still going strong right now on a $200 million budget, and it's about to break $500 million here by its second weekend. So doing pretty good. This movie is certainly earning its money back, and then pretty much whatever it continues to earn while it's in theaters will just be even more profit than we certainly had before. So because of the fact that it's doing so incredibly well in the box office right now, you know what that means. More content certainly headed our way from this particular world. And I thought it'd be interesting to go ahead and dive into some of the big announcements that we wind up getting from the Batman here this week, guys. So we're going to give you a little bit more clarity in regards to what these spinoffs are potentially going to be, because I think we had one of those questions last week in regards to, man, they continue to announce spinoffs week after week. What are they still holding on to? What are they canceling and ignoring right now? So let's go ahead and give you a little bit of insight. So this article comes to us from, which one should I start off with? Let's do the Deadline article. It says, this is from deadline.com. HBO Max orders the Penguin limited series as the Batman clocks $301 million at the global box office. This was as of March 9th. So very much earlier on during the week. I believe that was like Wednesday. That it came clocked in, but it says, and what comes as no surprise, given the running $301 million global grossing success of the Batman, HBO Max has given a straight to series order to the Pix spinoff series, The Penguin, which will see Colin Farrell reprise his villainous role from the Pick as one of Gotham's legendary kingpins. It says, as the director Matt Reeves told us, Penguin picks up where the movie left off in regards to the Penguin. He said the original Batman spinoff series he conceived centered around the corrupt cop in events preceding the movie is no longer moving forward at HBO Max. It says Penguin, which is the working title of the show, is executive produced by Reeves. They say, we are thrilled to bring audiences a new version of this iconic DC character that they have never seen before. It is incredible to be working with Matt, Dylan, and Lauren, and to see Colin take his already exceptional performance in the Batman to the next level. And Colin Farrell himself says the world that Matt Reeves created for the Batman is one that warrants deeper gaze through the eyes of Oswald Cobblepot. I couldn't be more excited about continuing this exploration of Oz as he rises through the darkened ranks to become the Penguin. Will be good to get him back on the streets of Gotham for a little madness and a little mayhem, says Colin Farrell. So yeah, so as of last week, in the beginning of the week, the Batman made $301 million, and right now it's sitting at about $463 million. But I'm sure by the end of this day, that will certainly change going into this upcoming week. But let me ask you, Stuart, in regards to the Penguin, officially greenlit, picked up from a straight to order series. No pilot certainly needed. I guess when it comes to HBO Max and streaming services, that's probably the route that they go these days. But honestly, Stuart, when I checked out the Batman, I think I was highly impressed with Colin Farrell. Not to say that I'm not impressed with his other work. I absolutely love what Colin Farrell brings to the table when it comes to his movies that he's in. But one, I was blown away by the prosthetics, the makeup. Almost could even tell that it was Colin Farrell under all that heavy makeup in here. But I was really impressed with him in the Batman. A lot more than I certainly thought. I didn't think he was going to have as pivotal or as big of a role as he did in the movie, but being able to see his interactions with the Batman, with Commissioner Gordon, and things like that, I really want to see more of him. I walked away after the Batman thinking to myself, you know what, that Penguin series looks a little bit more exciting to me. That's something I'm a little bit more intrigued with and really anticipating. So yeah, bring it on. I'm glad that they decided to go ahead and pick this apart. And just considering where we did leave the Batman off, with some of Gotham, being flooded, with certain areas of the city not being able to be gotten to anymore. The landscape of Gotham has significantly changed now that there is a big power vacuum. I think it's going to be really fun to kind of see how the Penguin solidifies his position in Gotham, and just maybe what other cameos and supporting characters we might certainly get in this film. But I thought Matt Reeves did a great job in establishing this world and making it a world that I really want to explore and actually see grow. So I think this was a smart move on their part, and I think a lot of people walked away impressed with the Penguin and wanting to see more. But maybe that's just me, Stuart. What did you think about this information we wind up getting?
Yeah, I think the Penguin getting a spinoff show is definitely exciting news to my opinion. I absolutely loved Colin's performance in the movie, and yeah, you definitely weren't the only one who couldn't recognize him, because I definitely heard stories and I've seen people like walk out of the theater completely confused about Colin Farrell in the movie, being like, I did not recognize him at all. And I've heard stories of people like being told that's Colin Farrell and not believing it, being like, no, it's not. You're messing with me. And yeah, because it's such amazing prosthetics that they use, and so I hope they're able to keep that momentum going with the television series. But yeah, I feel like with the way they left the movie off with or the way things ended with the movie for the Penguin specifically, I think it's the perfect opportunity to give them a spinoff, especially if it's going to be another kind of similar to his arc in Gotham, the idea of him like just rising to power and kind of becoming a lot more like the Penguin that we know from the comics, which, I mean, even in this movie alone, he's already pretty comic book accurate. I think the only thing really missing is, obviously him being the top of, the crime lords in Gotham. And of course, we got to see him at least get shot in the leg so he has that limp, which yeah. I'm sure we will in this show. So yeah, I'm excited about this. Everything about this idea sounds really good. I think, this would be my second choice if I had to choose a spinoff for the Batman. My first choice, of course, I would just say redo the Gotham TV show, but now with this new Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, I think for me, the one I'm highly anticipating, and it hasn't even been announced yet. I still want me a damn Catwoman spinoff series. I really want to see Zoe Kravitz in a lead role for something. But there are some things that are kind of clearing the way, if you will, to maybe add, say, a third spinoff series at this point in time. But we'll definitely dive into that here in just a second. But we'll see what we wind up getting when it comes to Penguin. There is a part of me that I was a big fan of the Gotham television show over on Fox. I did fall off maybe after like the third season or so, but I always really appreciated the Penguin that they had in that series. And there is always something really fun about getting to explore the Gotham sort of mob bosses and there's the street level thugs and the people that's really sort of run the city and things like that. So to be able to see that highlighted in this form with the fantastic actor like Colin Farrell, I'm really excited to see what the Penguin does in his own series. Certainly a lot of growth available for that character, and I think that really goes a long way. What I do find interesting in here, and this is bringing up Marcelino's comment, he says Gotham PD spinoff needs to take drastic measures to make sure they don't get compared to Gotham TV show. And you know what that drastic measure is, Marcelino? To just cancel the spinoff itself, or at least evolve it into something significantly different. And that's exactly where this next article comes from. This is coming to us from Games Radar, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's an offshoot of Total Film Magazine. But Matt Reeves just came out this week and talked about the idea that the Gotham City Police Department spinoff has evolved to focus on the Arkham series. This is something that we announced last week, Stuart, when we talked about it, that the Arkham Asylum series had been picked up. And we started thinking to ourselves last week, like, wait. So we've got Gotham PD starring Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon series. We've got a Penguin series, and now you're telling me we've got an Arkham Asylum series. One, it felt like way too many spinoffs, but also maybe one too many spinoffs that felt kind of eerily similar in a way. And so the idea here that Matt Reeves is saying, you know what, that spinoff series with the Gotham PD, it's kind of evolving into something else. If you ask me, Stuart, I think it's really great news. Let's actually go ahead and dive into this article. It says the Batman spinoff about the GCPD has shifted focus on Arkham, Matt Reeves has revealed. It says the HBO Max TV show was originally set to deal with corruption in the GCPD and would have been a prequel set in the Batman's first year as a crime fighter. The film, meanwhile, taking place in the second year. This is what Matt Reeves said. He says the GCPD thing, that story has kind of evolved. We're actually now moving more into the realm of exactly what would happen in the world of Arkham as it relates to coming off of our movie. So now this is very much more sequel territory. And some of the characters, again, in their origins, that you would almost leaning into the idea of it's like a horror movie or a haunted house that is Arkham. He says the idea of, again, the way that Gotham is a character in the movie, I really want Arkham to exist as a character so that you go into this environment and encounter these characters in a way that feels really fresh. And so in our work on Gotham, that story started to evolve and it started feeling like, wait, we should really lean into this. And that's kind of where that's gone. So yeah, it looks as though as of right now, Stuart, the Gotham PD is evolving into something more Arkham related. Matt Reeves explains the idea that in writing the scripts for Gotham, they started realizing that they were very much leaning into an Arkham storyline here and decided, hey, maybe we should just fuse these two together or evolve this Gotham into the Arkham series, which does make sense to me. I do have some other questions, though, as to whether or not is Jeffrey Wright returning as Commissioner Gordon? Is he going to come back at all? Who's going to be sort of the main leads for this Arkham Asylum sort of thing? So I like the idea of fusing these two ideas together, because for a while there, it did feel like, aren't we kind of retreading things with these three spinoffs and telling the same stories? Some of them certainly can be combined, and we clearly see that here. What do you think about this decision, though, Stuart?
I think my only concern with the Arkham spinoff is really just when it comes to the Batman and the way that the movie kind of started. It felt like it was picking up right where another story left off, specifically when it comes to like Commissioner Gordon's relationship with Batman, because it sounds like from the way they talk about in the beginning, the idea of the two of them working together is very new and very much like something that, like, for a lot of the cops on GCPD, like something that they were really shocked to see themselves. So I would have really loved to have seen what it is that like caused Commissioner Gordon to realize that he has to work with a vigilante and that the GCPD isn't because, you know, at that point, at the beginning of the movie, he knew there was corruption, but he just didn't know how deep it went. So it would have been kind of cool to explore what caused him to kind of like change his perspective on GCPD and want to work with Batman. So that's the one thing that kind of bums me out, is that I don't think they're going to be able to explore that the way I wanted them to. And plus, it just kind of sounds like he probably wouldn't even be in the series if it's more Arkham focused. So, you know, I'll watch it with an open mind, but I can't really say I'm too excited about it. At least not as excited as I am for the Penguin spinoff.
You know, I'm going to echo your sentiments here in the sense that I kind of feel that same way too. There was something really fascinating about tackling this series as a prequel when it was just Gotham. I really appreciated Jeffrey Wright's performance in the movie. And you're right. I think the dynamic between him and Batman is an intriguing one, considering the fact that this feels like the first time Gordon feels comfortable enough to introduce Batman to a crime scene. You know, like, hey, you can work alongside me and the rest of the GCPD. The movie presents it very much like this is their first time working like that, in that close proximity. So for me, I really want to see what that relationship was like within that first year. How much communication did they have? How deep was the levels of distrust, right? What type of conversations did they have for even somebody like Jim Gordon to even get on the same page of somebody like Batman, to believe and trust in a vigilante to kind of help around Gotham, right? So there are some elements to a Detective Gordon story prior to this movie that I really would have been fascinated with. But now the fact that we're kind of moving forward now, Stuart, I don't know why in the position that we're in now, I find this more of a Gotham copycat than something that's original, because the Gotham series itself, while focusing very much on Commissioner Gordon, make no mistake, Arkham Asylum was very much a character in the Gotham television series also, that wind up leading into the idea of experiments that were happening in Arkham, right? Even led to a season of like escapees leaving Arkham and things like that, and having to kind of bring them to justice a little bit. So, you know, we've seen was a professor, I can never remember the name of the professor from the Batman's Rogue that was experimenting on the people in Arkham Asylum.
Hugo Strange, right?
Hugo Strange. That was a moment in the Gotham television series. So this feels now more to me like we are leaning in sort of that copycat territory that we were in when it comes to Gotham PD. So I am a little bit more concerned now. I think they probably could have pulled off the Gotham PD on its own. But we'll see. We'll see how much of Arkham now kind of takes that step forward into this. So I think I am a little bit more hesitant than I was before now. But considering the world that they've created, and especially if this is sort of Matt Reeves's vision, if he's comfortable with merging these two and evolving this into the Arkham series, I'll give it a shot. But I would be lying if I said my level of enthusiasm hasn't dropped just a little bit. I'm definitely going to give it a shot, but I don't know how I feel about this until I see and hear a little bit more. But so right now, as of right now, we only have 2 spin-off series. We've got the Penguin that's officially been picked up, and the Arkham Asylum series that is merging or evolving from Gotham has not been greenlit or officially picked up yet. So we'll see how that happens. But I am keeping my fingers crossed now for a third, Stuart. Please give me this Catwoman spinoff in Bloodhaven. I really want to see it, honestly. I think it would be a really great, and it would be different too, Stuart, right? Like these feel very ground level stuff when it comes to Arkham and the Penguin. I do want to see, while I'm sure the Catwoman stuff would be ground level too, there is a sense of a anti-hero vigilante mindset to that I think I could have a lot of fun with. And shout out to Marcelino for bringing up the great BD Wong, who did a fantastic job. I agree with you, and Hugo Strange as in Gotham.
I'll say this though, if the Arkham Asylum series is treated like a horror series with Hugo Strange as like the main antagonist, my interest will go way up, because I think when done right, I haven't seen him in Gotham, so I don't know how he is, although I'll take Marcelino's word for it and assume that he does a really good job. But like, in the comic books, he's freaking terrifying. So
he's creepy in Gotham.
Yeah,
he's pretty creepy. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So I really hope they keep that fear factor to his character in the Arkham Asylum series if they bring him onto the show.
And I think my biggest thing is I would like Jeffrey Wright involved in some way or another. Even if I felt like this was going to give Jeffrey Wright his own series, whereas now I feel like he'll be reprised to a recurring or at least like a cameo role from time to time, whether that be in the Penguin or Arkham. So still we'll see. Still a lot in development, guys, but we'll certainly keep you posted. But at the end of the day, we want to know your thoughts. What do you guys think about this news and revelations here for the spin-off series? Which one are you now certainly looking forward to the most? Definitely go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And with that out of the way, Stuart, we got one last topic that we'll break down for you guys today, and that is in the world of DC television for you guys. As the world, when it comes to Arrowverse and the CW, continues to evolve each and every season, new shows coming and going, unfortunately, and we have been hearing a ton of rumblings about the idea that Gotham Knights could in fact be headed over to the CW, as the CW is going to be tackling a brand new series in Gotham Knights. Has officially been ordered for a pilot. So now filming begins, ladies and gentlemen, to go ahead and actually see if this is a series worth even acquiring and ordering as a full-on series for the CW. So we'll see how the pilot season goes when it comes to Gotham Knights. But this week, we wind up actually getting ourselves some new casting announcements for this upcoming series that actually might give us maybe a little bit more insight, Stuart, in regards to what we can definitely expect from this series. So let's go ahead and dive into this. This actually comes to us from Variety, letting us know that when it comes to the Gotham Knights cast, the CW pilot has officially cast Olivia Rose Keegan along with Nevia Robinson, as well as Oscar Morgan, and they are all in their order here. So from left to right, Olivia Rose Keegan, Navia Robinson in the middle, and Oscar Morgan to the right. It says here that they have all joined the pilot. It says based on characters for DC's Bob Kane, it seems the 1 hour drama takes place in the wake of Bruce Wayne's murder. His rebellious adopted son forges an unlikely alliance with the children of Batman's enemies when they are all framed for killing the Caped Crusader. And as the city's most wanted criminals, this renegade band of misfits must fight to clear his name, clear their names. But in a Gotham with no Dark Knight to protect it, the city descends into the most dangerous it's ever been. However, hope comes from the most unexpected places, as this team of unmatched fugitives will become its next generation of saviors, known as the Gotham Knights. So here we go. It says Olivia Keegan will play the character Dula. Described as an abrasive and unpredictable and a little unhinged, Dula is, above all, a survivor. Born in Arkham Asylum and abandoned by her father, the most dangerous man in Gotham, Dula forged herself into a brutal fighter and skilled thief. For those of you who don't know Olivia Keegan, she did have nearly 300 episodes in the soap opera Days of Our Lives. She also starred as Lily in the High School Musical, the series. God damn, that's a mouthful. At Disney Plus, and she also filmed a role in the Amazon series Daisy Jones and the Six. Let me see DC Comics, Dula. Let me see if I can pull up Dula Dent. That's Harvey Dent's daughter, huh?
Oh, actually, maybe I was wrong. I was going to say, I don't think that's actually the character's name. I think it's just a casting or like a production name in order to hide the actual character, but I could be wrong.
When I pull up Dula on DC Comics, I get Dula Dent.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. Never mind.
So it looks like she's going to be playing Dula Dent for you guys. Let me see if I can.
Oh, daughter of the Joker. Okay, I do know her character. Yeah,
Why she got the last name Dent then?
I don't know. That is quite bizarre.
Here, let me save some images here for you guys so that if you do want to see what some of these characters look like, if you're not too familiar, I will go ahead and bring up Dula for you guys. Let's see here. So yeah, apparently, according to her, she's going to be playing the Dula character. And again, that's Olivia Keegan, I believe her name is.
Yeah, I remember her character from Teen Titans. I believe it was like a murder mystery where I think it was that she was murdered, and it was either that she was murdered or that she was being framed for murdering someone. I don't remember. It's been way too long, but I do remember her though from the Teen Titans comic books.
Yeah, it says described as abrasive, unpredictable, and a little unhinged. She is above all a survivor, born in Arkham Asylum, abandoned by her father, the most dangerous man in Gotham. Dula forged herself into a brutal fighter and skilled thief. So you're saying she's the daughter of the Joker?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it shows up.
I don't know why her last name is Dent, but yeah.
I mean, maybe it's a different iteration. I mean, as many DC Comics multiverses there have been, I can definitely see there being a little bit of a mix-up, or maybe another iteration of her at some point in time. Let's see here. We also have Navia Robinson. She, believe it or not, will play Carrie Kelly. Fearless, idealistic, and plucky as hell. Carrie talked her way into being Batman's unlikely sidekick. If there's a burning building or a person in need, she's the first to rush in, just as long as she's home by curfew. For those of you who don't know Navia Robinson, she is best known for her starring role in Disney Channel series Raven's Home, follow-up to That's So Raven, and she also has other credits including Being Mary Jane, Free Reign, and The Rocketeer. So yeah, we've got good old Carrie Kelly coming through. Believe it or not, Stuart. I'm kind of excited to have a version of Carrie Kelly finally in the Arrowverse.
Yeah, I mean, just to finally get her in live action, it's actually kind of funny because now this show has two female Robins in this, because you also have Stephanie Brown, who was Robin for a very short amount of time. So yeah, so I'm kind of curious if we're gonna have like Stephanie Brown in the show playing Spoiler, and then Carrie Kelly as Robin.
Well, I will say this. Just based off of what we're getting so far, the synopsis about the murder of Bruce Wayne, or the murder of Batman or Bruce Wayne, or whatever the case may be, there is a part of me that's kind of under the impression that this might be taking place in like its own Earth.
Oh yeah. I don't think it's. I think they did say already that it's not a spinoff of Batwoman.
Okay. So yeah. This is Carrie Kelly. For those of you who don't know, this is Carrie Kelly, one of Batman's sidekicks in the DC Comics lore from, was it the Dark Knight Rises storyline, I believe, with Frank Miller. But that's where she was introduced at. So that's Carrie Kelly. That's going to be played by Navia Robinson in Gotham Knights. So, yeah, I'm excited that we're going to get ourselves a live action Carrie Kelly finally. Yeah. And then last but not least, we've got, was it Oscar Morgan? Morgan will play Turner Hayes. Despite the murder of his biological parents, Turner remains resilient and driven to live up to his billionaire adopted father's name. While charming and soulful, Turner has never quite felt comfortable in the world of wealth and privilege. It says Morgan can also be seen in Apple's World War II drama Master of the Air. He's previously appeared in shows Warren, The Miniaturist, and Trauma. So yeah, and this is Gotham Knights hails from Batman writers Natalie Abrams, James, and Chad Fiveash. And yeah, so it's yeah, like you mentioned, definitely not a spinoff to Batwoman, nor is it tied to the upcoming Gotham Knights video game, is what they expressed. Turner Hayes, I'm not familiar with who Turner Hayes is in the comic books. DC Turner Hayes. Let's see.
I think that's going to be the character who. I think it's just a production name. I don't think that's actually going to be his name in the show. Yeah, I think it's just to stop from spoilers getting out. So if I had to guess, I would assume it's more than likely Dick Grayson. Although the character description could technically work for Jason Todd. In fact, probably a little more for Jason Todd because they mentioned him being kind of rebellious. So that would probably be my guess.
Yeah, man, we'll definitely have to see. I'm kind of digging some of the character choices in here. Gotham Knights is a storyline and a concept I'm personally not too familiar with in regards to like just comic book storyline wise. So to be able to kind of see something like this adapted does really kind of intrigue me to see how it's going to fit into the overall scheme of things when it comes to what CW is creating for their Arrowverse as of right now. So we're both kind of under the impression this is very much like a different Earth that this is taking place on.
Yeah.
Instead of Prime Earth.
Which I think is going to be really weird when it's on the CW, because with it being in Gotham and just kind of like seeing the way they did it with Naomi and Superman, I feel like more than likely this is going to be a show that comes right after Batwoman. So I feel like having two Gotham related TV shows on the same network that aren't connected is just going to kind of like add to the it feels like a very DC decision. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. No, you're speaking to the choir, man. It definitely a little bit of head scratching and trying to figure out how they're going to explain all this. We don't even know. Are we getting a Batwoman season 4? Is this really going to be taking place of that whole Gotham aspect of things? So hopefully we'll get some further clarification as we head into the spring, especially with this officially being ordered as a pilot. For me, there are certain things that I would love to see this show actually drop in the summertime, like after Batwoman has wrapped up or something like that. Maybe the idea of still keeping two Gotham-centric shows, but maybe having them come out during different times of the year, maybe something like that certainly might help. But not too sure the direction in which CW certainly wants to go. But it feels very much, Stuart, like when it comes to the shows, that they really don't mind the idea of playing into that multiverse, like the idea that they are realizing, hey, we can still create shows and it doesn't all necessarily have to be connected directly to the Arrowverse that we have on Earth Prime. It feels like they're really taking liberties to just create new content and place it wherever they want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think unfortunately just with the concept that they have going for it, I just don't see how it can end up, how they're going to end up being able to tell stories that they couldn't tell in another show like Batwoman, especially when 3 of the characters in the show were already established in Batwoman. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of my biggest kind of concern about this is just, I have this big question in my head of why?
Yeah. That should be one of the biggest questions in regards to, so you want to make this series, okay, why? So I hope they ask themselves.
Yeah, because you already got all these writers working on Batwoman, it's just it's weird to me.
It's weird. So, it's why couldn't you just include some of them into Batwoman? But okay, hey, whatever.
Exactly. So I think I'll go into the show with an open mind, but my hype level for it is incredibly, incredibly low.
I definitely understand where you're coming from, man. And I do want to give a shout out to Marcelino in here for also bringing up this other topic, because this was a link to this was at least placed in that article that we just read. But in regards to other casting, they did when did this drop? March 7th. They did also report that Gotham Knights cast Fallon Smythe and Tyler DiChiara. I probably completely butchered that name, but it said that Smith and DiChiara are first announced casting for the pilot. It says they are going to be, what does it say? Oh, this is Smythe is going to star as Harper Row, described as a streetwise acerbic and often underestimated. The blue-haired bisexual is a gifted engineer who can fix anything, but what Harper wants most of all is to repair the broken lives of her and her brother, Cullen, the only person that she trusts. And D'Chara is going to be playing Cullen Rowe. So we've got Harper Rowe and Cullen Rowe, brothers and sisters in here. And for those of you who don't know, when it comes to those two characters, I believe it's Harper who actually is Bluebird in the comic books, Stuart. I believe Bluebird was just recently created by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo in their recent Batman run as well. So we do have the character in Bluebird that's going to be making her presence felt also. Are you familiar with Bluebird at all, Stuart?
Not super familiar, but I definitely recognize the name. And actually, I'm looking her up right now on Google Images. And yeah, I got to say, I actually do kind of like the costume, but I feel like this is one of those rare cases where it would look better in live action than it does on comic books. Because they kind of seem to make it look like it. They seem to make it want to look like it's a homemade costume, which I kind of like. So I'm kind of curious to see how they pull that off in the TV show, because I feel like it'll be easy to do and it'll just make the uniform fit a little better. Yeah, that was the one I was looking at.
Yeah, I think this costume will look pretty badass in live action form. So yeah, relatively brand new character. It feels like introduced in Batman, but it looks like brother and sister here will in fact be in the series. Bluebird being Harper Rowe, the female here, looks like she's going to be playing a significant role. So Bluebird, Dula, Carrie Kelly in some form or another. Some pretty interesting choice of characters that we're going to be getting for Gotham Knights. But we'll definitely keep you guys posted as to whether or not it gets picked up. But yeah, guys, go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. All right. I think other than that, Stuart, I think that actually wraps up all of our main topics for the day, man. So are you ready to get into our next segment?
Live viewer questions. Yes.
Remarkable every time. Let's see here. APlus opinions. We've definitely got ourselves a couple of questions here, so let's have some fun with it, shall we? AJ, right off the bat with some of his questions. What do you want to see in Deadpool 3 with director Shawn Levy in position? And speaking of Shawn Levy, I watched the Adam Project, and it was really great. He was a big fan of it. So is there anything in particular that you want to see from Deadpool 3 with director Shawn Levy at all in that position?
God, I really want to see Deadpool annoy someone within the MCU, like an already established MCU character, like that. And I hope we get a lot of laughs, but I do hope that the movie still has a heart, the same way the first two Deadpool movies did, and then the same way Free Guy does. I really hope there's still a heart in that movie as well.
Yeah, I'm with you right there too, man. I think if anything, I'm hoping that the heart and the fun is just brought to the table. I think Shawn Levy can really tap into that, and I think his relationship that he has with Ryan Reynolds, I think, really showcases itself well on screen. So that's pretty much all I'm hoping for at this point right now. He also says, I saw the Batman movie yesterday. He says, and I thought it was a solid film. I really, really saw a different side of Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. No longer saw him as the Twilight guy. Him as our new Cape Crusader gave me Christian Bale vibes. And yes, Robert got ripped for the movie. He says it was a very long movie, but overall the movie was good, especially with the twist towards the end. I may not watch this again unless I'm at a party or a showing, but he does grade it a B-. I think I graded it at about an A. I know some fans from the Cinema Score were giving it about an A- or so. So that's kind of where I was sitting at when it comes to the Batman. What about you, though, Stuart? What did you grade the Batman movie?
I'd give it a solid A. The only reason I wouldn't give it an A plus is because I do think that it didn't need to be 3 hours, and I think like it's kind of weird that movies really want to push that 3 hour mark now, especially superhero movies, and I don't really think it's always necessary.
I will say, good old Michael Rhymes came through earlier. He says, no offense, but I saw the Batman the other day after it came out, and it was boring as hell. The last half hour was the highlight for him. And, I think when we did the review, or at least when I did my non-spoiler review, I did mention the idea that while I really enjoyed this movie, and while I think that this is sort of it's definitely up there in my top 2 as of right now. I think the pacing and the tone really connected with me personally as a great representation of what a Batman movie should truly be. But it doesn't mean that that has to be what every Batman movie is like. But one of the things that I mentioned was I can see there being a group of people that this movie just doesn't work for. I can see the pacing of this being a little bit too slow. While we definitely did get some dabbling of action in this movie for sure, I don't necessarily know if it was on the levels of, say, what like Christopher Nolan certainly gave us. There is very much sort of like a Hollywood element to the Christopher Nolan movies that work really well for his take with Christian Bale that I think a lot of people are still going to be very drawn to. Whereas when I look at the Batman, while I personally, and I think a lot of people will enjoy the movie, I still think that the tone and the vibe of this movie is still towards a particular group of audience. So I can understand if there's some people that maybe considered it a little bit too boring for them. But what do you think, though, when you hear a response like this from Michael? Is it something you can understand?
Yeah, definitely. That's and yeah, like I said, that's why I didn't want to give it the plus. When I gave it an A, because I feel like even though for me, I don't mind movies being really long, I'm kind of like thinking about how a lot of people, don't like him being too long, and especially because then you also got to realize that when you're watching a 3 hour movie, and you have to go to the cinemas to watch it. That's a lot of time that you have to put aside to make sure that you can actually have a good, enjoyable experience and not have to worry about people or without having to worry about interrupting other plans. It's just I don't know. I'm just speaking as like an adult and like thinking about how like planning anything now, it's like it feels like I have to put like a lot of work into planning like such like simple things now. And so when it comes to a 3 hour movie, that like also is one of those.
I definitely agree with you there. Gabriel's got a couple questions. So thank you very much, Michael, for your comments and stuff. Gabriel does have a question. He says, what actor from a TV series and movie do you think was typecasted and managed to change people's perspectives of them?
Ooh, that is a really good question.
I'm wondering if we could use Robert Pattinson. Well, he wasn't really typecast, right? I mean, everybody just knew him from Twilight, but it wasn't like the movies that he went out. He just played vampires, Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a TV or movie star that was typecast that eventually broke out of it and became something else.
Ooh, here we go. First example, I did some Googling and I just found one that actually came out really good. Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad, because before Breaking Bad, he was always that comedic relief character. Like everyone knew him as the, funny dad from Malcolm in the Middle. And then, here's another really good one. Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo, because, I don't think anyone could ever see Robin Williams as playing like a psychopath or anything like that, because he's just such a friendly guy, but he actually showed he could do it really good.
Yeah, Robert Williams definitely had a huge range, which I think definitely gets understated for sure for some people. Great examples though. Great examples though. Do you think we will ever get a Robin introduced into the DCEU if done right? And why movies keep ignoring Robin and not pairing him with Batman? This is a great question, Gabriel, because I am a big fan of Robin. It's one of the reasons why I love Titans so much, because I'm just a big fan of Dick Grayson. So I love seeing that iteration and just seeing a live action Robin sort of brought to life. I love seeing him on screen. I do think that he will get introduced. Damn, you know what? So the Batman or the Batgirl movie has at least teased the idea that I'm assuming in this new world or this Flashpoint world that we're kind of getting, that the Batman in the DCEU eventually did have a Robin by his side. The Flashpoint, I'm assuming, if anything, of this new Earth, that's how their history works here. Whereas our Michael Keaton Batman eventually did pick up a Robin based off of just the painted mural that we see in Gotham City. But I would assume by the time Batgirl drops, he's got to be at the Nightwing phase of his career, I would certainly assume. So that still leaves the idea that we aren't getting a live action iteration of Robin on the DCEU. So let me propose this to you, Stuart. Do you think we ever will see a Robin in the DCEU in some form or another? And why do you think he has been kind of ignored for so long?
I'll answer the DCU question first. I don't know if we're going to see Dick Grayson Robin unless it's a flashback, because it sounds like, the Batman of this new Flashpoint universe is going to be a very seasoned Batman. So, I assume that when we see Dick Grayson in the DCEU, he's already going to be Nightwing. But I think if we do ever get a Robin within that universe, it might be the Damian Wayne Robin. So I do think it'll happen eventually. Just it'll be, we won't be able to see it happen from Robin to Nightwing. It's just going to be Nightwing, and then we'll start with the Damian Wayne Robin. That's my guess.
Oh, okay, I like that.
As for why we haven't gotten that much Robin in live action, I think it's just because a lot of people are afraid of writing an adult forcing a kid to, or not forcing, but you know what I mean? Basically getting a kid to fight crime and then just essentially throw his whole future, in the trash and give it up so he can be a vigilante like Batman. I think it's just writers are really afraid to tackle that because they want Batman to be a character you like, but it's really hard to write a Batman who, lets a kid go out and fight crime with him. That's also supposed to be a good person. You know what I mean? It sounds cool on comic books, of course, because it's every kid's fantasy to be a superhero. But when you're looking at it through a live action lens, you start to kind of think, what if this happened in real life? This would not be okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think that's something that can change with this new Batman, because I think they aren't afraid to make this Batman, kind of a fuck up at times. So I think this could be one of those aspects that they could explore with this Batman. In his third movie, he finally does get a Robin, and maybe there's actually a question of morality behind that. That's actually something they could explore within the movies and have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, I feel like this is a pretty big topic for me. I really enjoy talking about this Robin topic here. I will say this: I do agree and really like your idea about the idea of introducing us to maybe a grown up Nightwing in the current DCEU that we have, and then eventually maybe introducing us to a Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne for me would be really interesting take, because I think that's something that you can get away with a younger Robin. Because of the fact of how he sort of comes into Bruce Wayne's life, or how he kind of comes into it very much unexpected, already trained, right? Already sort of a dangerous and deadly fighter himself. I think if you can find somebody that can play that role in their teens, to be able to handle themselves relatively well against grown men and women that they have to face off against, I think you can very much make a Damian Wayne be a formidable foe as a Robin in our current iteration of DCEU as we have it. Outside of that, I find it really difficult to bring in a much younger Robin. You could always go back and take the plans that they had for Batman and Robin, right? Like Chris O'Donnell, he wasn't, a young kid. I think he was supposed to be portraying somebody, in their late teens, early 20s, maybe. I don't even remember how old Chris O'Donnell was supposed to be as Robin in that movie. But I like the chemistry there. That certainly worked for me. I think you could probably still pull off maybe an older Robin than what he was in the comics, and certainly make it work. But I like the idea of, if anything in the DCEU, let it be Damian Wayne. If we're talking about Robert Pattinson's, that's a little bit more difficult for me, just based off of how grounded that world really is. I have heard Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves talk about their enjoyment of a Death in the Family storyline, where I
Mhm.
think if there is any Robin that you could bring to life, Jason Todd, I think, would really work in that realm, in the sense of a really terrible decision for Batman coming to bite him in the ass by losing somebody in the field, and really changing his course and his mindset in the future in regards to where you go with a potential sort of sidekick and having something really tragic happen to him. Like, that's something that I feel like Matt Reeves can really sink his teeth into and write around into a 2 to 3 hour movie in this same realm, that detective noir. It's dark. It's dark, trust me, right? The death of somebody that you're trying to bring in. I would assume that there would be a leap in time. Maybe this is what, year 5 or 6 for Robert Pattinson or whatever case may be as Robin. I say maybe avoid the Dick Grayson stuff, because I think maybe a Jason Todd would fit maybe a little bit better in that Robert Pattinson world if they were going to do something like that. What do you think, though, Stuart?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think you have to completely get rid of Dick Grayson altogether. But yeah, if they wanted to do like a time jump and show Batman having gone through Robin and now going through a new Robin, essentially, with Jason Todd, thinking, hey, it worked out so well with Dick Grayson, why not try it again with this troubled young kid? And then, yeah, like you said, that decision biting him majorly in the ass later on. I think if any director could tackle something like that, like a story like that, Matt Reeves would be perfect for that.
So we'll see. I do think that there is plenty of room, for there to be a Robin involved. I am a little bit bummed that they haven't pulled the trigger any sooner than they have, but I think you're right. I think the idea of a grown man bringing in a young kid to face off against violence and villains and criminals and stuff, probably not necessarily seen in the best light, but I do think that there are plenty of workarounds to that, to where we can still see more Robins kind of brought to life. So we'll see what happens there. But great question, Gabriel. We also got, since we brought up Michael Rhimes earlier, let's go ahead and bring up Michael Rhimes again. What are your predictions for Black Adam and Shazam 2? I think maybe half of the JSA gets killed off. I don't really know. I don't know what they plan on doing with Black Adam. I do want to see a villainous side to him. I hate the term anti-hero, Stuart. I feel like it's just becoming a bigger and bigger term used to take all these villains that we have known over time and try and put some level of hero-esque aspect to them. And I feel like it castrates them sometimes. So I hate the term anti-hero, but I am curious to see what Black Adam's journey is going to be. But I'm hoping there's a body count, at least when it comes to this Black Adam movie, and half of the JSA winds up getting demolished. Maybe Hawkman himself, since he's such a big reincarnator, maybe he's somebody that you can, we're done with this character, we'll bring him back in a couple other movies or something like that. Who knows? But I don't really have any high expectations or predictions, besides the fact of hopefully half the JSA bite in the dust, and maybe a face-off or at least a cameo and a tease of these two on the screen together. I'll take that.
Yeah. For me, that's kind of what I'm expecting, is just the JSA to be an ally for like the first 2/3 of the movie, but then the last third, Dwayne Johnson's character wanting to essentially do something that they are completely against, but like he thinks is a necessary evil, and then that being what leads to them like suddenly clashing. Basically, yeah, I think that they're just going to make Black Adam like a good guy for the first 2/3, and then the last third is going to be when we see his darker side. And then as for Shazam 2, I got like no story predictions. I'm just predicting that it's going to be very similar to the first movie in terms of like tone and just overall like story structure. I think it's just going to be a really fun superhero movie with some emotional moments here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be a really fun family picture that like you can take your kids to.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, man. Let's see here. Did I have another question up here? Michael Rhymes does say, I'm having a hard time accepting The Rock as Black Adam. Every role I saw him in, he played the same dude. I don't want a scene of him working out as his home gym like Hobbs and Shaw. What do you think in regards to that?
I mean, I totally get that concern, and I've been hearing that a lot from different people. Everyone kind of bringing up that he really does like kind of play the same character a lot, but I really don't think that's going to be the case with this one, because you look at a lot of his early 2000s movies. I feel like that's when he had a little more range. That's when he was really trying to find what like acting style works for him. And I think the problem became that he found an acting style that worked for him really well, and he decided to stick with that for a little too long. And then, because of that, he kind of played it safe for a while. But everything I've seen from the trailers and from just how excited he seems to be for this role, plus not to mention the fact that he had a huge part in writing this movie as well, I do think we're going to finally see a different side to him that we haven't really seen in quite some time. So me personally, I'm not as concerned about that as I think other people are, but at the same time, I totally get why that concern is there to begin with.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Adam Pereira does ask, some people are fan casting Ludi Lin as Robin and Chance Perez as Nightwing. I don't know how you guys feel with unknown actors or less known actors. In this role for Nightwing, I probably would want a little bit more of a more known actor. If anything, probably not Chance Perez. I wouldn't mind seeing Ludi Lin get himself a little bit of a bigger role, whether that be as a future Robin or whatever the case may be. But for me, in regards to Nightwing, my number one right now is Dylan O'Brien from Maze Runner. That's the guy that I really, really want. There was a part of me, I was kind of pushing him for fan casting for Han Solo, even as a young Han Solo. That didn't come to fruition, but I think he might have been in like the short list of actors in the running for it, but I could certainly be wrong. I was just really impressed with him in Maze Runner and some of the other content that I've seen him in. So for me, I think my runner up for who I would love to see play a Nightwing, if we ever do get a version of that character on the big screen, for me, it would be Dylan O'Brien, but that could just potentially be me. What do you think? Do you have anybody in mind for these characters, or what are your thoughts on maybe a Ludi Lin or Chance Perez?
I would Ludi Lin, I could see doing it really well. As for Chance Perez, I'd want to see an audition tape. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not like against the idea for completely, but he's relatively new to acting, so I would definitely want to see a little bit more from him. I think though, for me, if I had to fan cast, and this is just based on early rumors that of course never went through, and then just me kind of seeing that he really does have a little more variety than we originally gave him credit for. Zac Efron as Nightwing wouldn't be too bad, and especially because he's got the physique for it.
Okay, I'd be open to Zac Efron. I know some people would probably be pushed back against it like they did with Robert Pattinson, but I actually do think he's a pretty good actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Let's see here. What else we got? He might be a little bit too pretty boy though, but we'll see. Let's see here. Michael Rhymes says, quick fire, best and worst moments from both the MCU and DCEU. I can get so the first two for some reason that come to mind when it comes to the DCEU. Best moment, The Flash from Zack Snyder's Justice League. Homeboy, with his crazy running, rewinding time and stuff, and saving his team. I thought that was pretty incredible. Worst moment in the DCEU though, the longing gaze out at the water of Aquaman as he dives back into the ocean to leave, and the girls are just singing to his. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's just cringy, man. It's so fucking cringy. I'm sure there are other worse moments in the DCEU I can pick, but for me, best moment probably the Flash rewinding time.
I can't remember which specific one I hate the most, but pretty much you can almost take any Lex Luthor scene from Dawn of Justice, and that'll be my least favorite moment from the DCEU. Almost any scene that he's in. As for the best guy, like I want to say, like the Flash scene you brought up is definitely up there because that was such a well-directed and just beautiful moment in the movie. But man, I gotta give it to trying to think which scene in particular. There's a couple of scenes from Peacemaker, like specifically the way they always end each episode with kind of like a really awesome montage.
Oh yeah.
From Peacemaker.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think which one of those I like the most, because there were quite a few montage in that show. I want to say it's the one when we first get the hint about what happened to his brother. And we have that montage while he's like getting crossfaded and then just like, breaking down completely. I think that's got to be my favorite DCEU moment. And that was also kind of the moment where I'm like, okay, Peacemaker is now my new favorite DC television show, because I just went from laughing my ass off a couple scenes ago, and now I'm like depressed. Like, this is like, this guy has been through stuff.
Yeah, Peacemaker's a great season. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to check out the series, go ahead and certainly do so. I guess a quick runner-up for me in regards to best moment would probably be Henry Cavill's first flight as Superman, with the crazy Hans Zimmer score. That was another great moment for me. In regards to best and worst moments of the MCU, worst moments in the MCU, probably anything Ant-Man and the Wasp related. That whole movie, can that just be a worst MCU moment in general? I'll take that. Let me think on the best. Do you have any worst MCU moments?
Oh man, that's a big question. Right now I'm kind of like thinking, this is gonna piss some people off, I know, but for my worst MCU moment, I wasn't a fan. Like, I loved what it led to, kind of like I loved that it led to Falcon becoming Captain America. That said, I wasn't a fan of Captain America's last appearance in Endgame, because it completely contradicted everything that they set up in the movie about how time travel works. And it's weird because like it felt like they set it up as what you do in the past doesn't matter, at all or anything like that. They seem to really set it up like time travel has no effect or anything. All you do is you create another universe when you go back in time. You're not affecting, the current universe. And then Captain America goes back in time and changes the past, because we clearly see him as an old man, implying that he lived in that universe the entire time. Unless he like traveled from another universe like that he lived his life in. But I've
always seen
little sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've always looked at Steve Rogers as the very lone paradox in this world. The one thing that should belong but doesn't belong because there's two of him in the same timeline at that point in time. He just he's always felt like a paradox to me.
Yeah. So I think that was what annoyed me the most in the Endgame. But
I can understand that.
I can also say that Endgame had my favorite moment, which was the big payoff moment.
Yeah.
The moment, when you get Steve Rogers finally saying the iconic phrase, "Avengers Assemble."
Yeah. That definitely that was definitely going to be my moment too. I don't know if there's any other bigger moment than that. Give me some time. I'll think about another moment, because that was going to be my answer also. But so I'll come back to that, Gabriel.
If you want, I can change my answer. I got another one.
Oh, what's the other one then?
Everyone in the MCU basically getting snapped away, because that was a dark ending that I don't think anyone saw coming.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see that coming at all. But immediately once they were done, I'm like, they'll be back.
Oh yeah, exactly. but like the moment it's happening, you're like not thinking crazy about the fact that it's a comic book movie. You're thinking about the fact that no, not Peter Parker, and the fact that Peter is like afraid of going too. Like, oh no, it hits you.
Yeah, it definitely hits you. Kurt's got a couple questions. He says, what were some of your guys' favorite music scores and soundtrack in the movie that was both great and decent? And if you can predict what music you'd like to be sampled in an upcoming movie. I may not tackle that second half, but some of your guys' favorite music scores and soundtracks in a movie. I've always loved Inception's soundtrack. I'm also a big fan of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack in general. Favorite musical scores. Jesus. What do you got off the top of your head? There's a bunch, man, I can think of. There was one I had on the top of my head. I just forgot about it.
I think my favorite score altogether is probably the Back to the Future theme song.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, that's a great one. I mean, you can go as far back as Danny Elfman's Batman score that really worked for me. I think John Williams did the Superman score back in the day, which was incredible. Still gives me chills when I listen to it these days. I love anything John Williams touches, especially when it comes to Star Wars. I really love his Rey's theme. I'm also a big fan of Across the Stars from Attack of the Clones. He's got some great stuff, man. I do love me some musical composers. I really do. Michael Giacchino is becoming a genius.
Ooh, as for my favorite soundtrack, though, okay, I just found my answer. Baby Driver.
Ah, it's a great one. Yeah, it's another great one. Man, yeah, that thing is all music.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Thoughts on Matt Reeves, the Batman, and any similar use to the current CW series Batwoman? I thought it was a cinematic masterpiece. I know not everybody's going to think that way, but for me, the tone, the vibe, the atmosphere, the grittiness to it, the somberness to it. I really did love those detective noir elements to this movie. It really just makes this movie pop for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. Wait, what was the Batwoman related question?
If there were any similarities, it looks like from the CW series Batwoman.
I mean, let me put it this way: if Batwoman was able, if it wasn't for the fact that every episode has to be made in 7 days, if they were able to if each episode basically was given like 2 or 3 months to be made, then I feel like they would have a very similar look in terms of like the style. But obviously, TV, you can't do it that way. So, yeah, because of that, they definitely look way too different to be compared to. But yeah, I could definitely see like if the showrunners had the time, they would definitely try to get Batwoman to look a lot more noir-esque, kind of like the Batman, I think.
And speaking of Batwoman, these are questions from Marcelino. Today's questions are Batwoman themed. Some people say that the best Batwoman interpretation on TV and the one we should have gotten for the TV show was the one from the animated movie Batman Bad Blood. What do you think? I don't know if I've ever seen the animated movie Bad Blood.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet either.
And I'm not too familiar with her as a character straight out of the comic book, so I would have been open to whatever iteration that they gave us, honestly. Like, I personally just don't have that type of connection with the Batwoman character to truly have cared as to which one they decided to give me.
Oh, wasn't it just Kate Kane, though, in that movie?
The Bad Blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was Kate Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think what would have been a really cool iteration of Batwoman is if they had gone with Wallace Day from the start. I think it probably would have been. I think season 1 of Batwoman would have actually probably been a lot better.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we were pushing for Wallace Day too when they were talking about casting. Unfortunately, that just never happened. He also asks, why do you think Batwoman is using bootleg knockoffs of Batman villains and not the real villains? Is it because the production believes that if they use the real villains, then the audience will be more focused on the old villains and not the main cast?
No, I think it's because they're literally not allowed to. I remember, the showrunner in an interview with Kevin Smith when they were doing like the Crisis on Infinite Earths like after show, like that was like one of the questions that came up was, hey, what are some villains you wish you could use in the future of the show? And she's like, oh man, I've been wanting to use the Joker since we started. But she also, name dropped wanting to use Ivy, and at the time they weren't allowed to. But yeah, I think that's what it all comes down to is they're not allowed to use them, so they kind of have to rely on kind of this like a kind of a new bootleg, I guess, as you said, version of these characters, which, I mean, to their credit, I think they did a pretty decent job with Batwoman season 3.
He also says back in the 90s there was a TV show called Viper. I briefly remember Viper, that went through similar problems just like Batwoman did in its later seasons. The main lead was replaced when the show wasn't able to get him back to reprise his role. So they casted someone else to play an entirely new character in his place in season 2. But when Viper's final season came, the studio was able to get back the previous main actor to reprise his role, taking over as the main lead again and be able to find his character, finish his character's story. Do you think Batwoman will do something similar? Let's just say, example, Batwoman season 4 will be Javicia Leslie's last time as Batman or Batwoman. The writers give her a good ending, but don't kill her off in case they want to bring her back as cameos. And in the following seasons, Wallace Day takes over as Batwoman again to continue Kate Kane's story. Is that a possibility? I mean, I think it could be, Stuart. What do you think? I don't follow the series enough. So would that be a move that would make sense, or that could happen if Leslie wanted to step away?
I mean, if she wanted to step away, then yeah, but I really don't see that happening anytime soon because it looks like she's really enjoying her time on Batwoman, and it would also be a shame too because they only, to my opinion, anyways, I feel like they only just now like actually started making it a Ryan Wilder focused Batwoman because season 2 was just, I think season 2 just didn't have any focus at all on anything. And because of that, it was like, it felt like she wasn't even the main character of her own show. So, you know, it'd be really weird to finally give us a season where she is the main character, only to then just have Wallace Day kind of take back over as Batwoman. I think if anything, what they would do if Wallace Day wanted to come back full time for the show, or if the writers wanted to bring her on, is that she would probably just come back, but not be Batwoman. They would probably just give her kind of a new superhero persona to take over.
I kind of like that idea, honestly. Let's see here. Nicole Roberts. Hey, y'all. Hope you're doing well. What DC movie are you most anticipated to see that will be different than we already have, that's even better than its TV counterpart? What DC movie are you most anticipating to see that will be different than we already have? I mean, I think there's a couple of movies that we don't necessarily have TV counterparts for. Like we don't have a Aquaman or Black Adam, just the Flash, really, I think, at this point in time. So in general, I mean, let's just pick, do we have most anticipated DCEU movie that may be different than something that we've already had?
For me, definitely Black Adam, I think. And this is just because I'm really excited to see the JSA in live action finally. But I think just everything that they've been, you know, hyping the movie up with, I think there's so much confidence in the people working on the project, and just all the visuals that we've gotten from some of the trailers. I think it's going to be a really unique film.
I certainly hope so, man. I'm really hoping that it will be. I'm trying to figure out. There's a part of me that wants to say Blue Beetle, just because with its much younger cast and this being a younger superhero than we've seen compared to the other DCEU slate of heroes. I am kind of curious to see what they're going to do with this. What's the tone going to be? Is it going to feel vastly different from any of the other movies that we've gotten? So if anything, I'll probably put Blue Beetle in there, especially with the cast as it's starting to come together. Nicole also says, since Adam is the main host of APlus More Phenomenal, what did the rest of you think of season 2 of Dino Fury, if already binged the first half? Have you watched the first half of all of season 2 already, Stuart?
I have, yeah.
Without spoilers, what are your thoughts on the first half of season 2?
I thought it was an absolute blast. I think like the overall, and it makes so much sense now after hearing, you know, what the original plan for Dino Fury was, how it was meant to be like one season. So I think my only nitpick is that it feels like even though each individual episode is paced phenomenally, or I should say more phenomenally, you know, I think like each individual episode has some of the best pacing that we've seen in Power Rangers in a long time. I think the overall like story structure is moving annoyingly slow. And I think it comes down to the fact that no one's asking the questions that people would actually ask in those situations. You know, no one's asking Void Knight why he didn't just, you know, help, or why he didn't just, ask the Rangers to help him, save his girlfriend so they could leave the world. No one's asking him his backstory when there's so much
No spoilers.
opportunity
No
to
spoilers for him.
Oh shoot. I'm
It's
so
okay.
sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, without getting too specific, they're not asking questions that normal people would ask, and that's what's forcing the mystery to kind of drag longer than it needs to my opinion. Other than that, though, it's really good, and I think I've actually been laughing a lot more this season than I have been like at other Power Rangers seasons. I think they finally got the comedy down pretty well.
Let's see here. Francois Dupont from Paris. He does ask us, what do you all think of representation in TV and cinema, and why some people don't want other people to be accepted? We kind of talked a little bit about this yesterday during APlus More Phenomenal as of yesterday. But what do you all think of representation in TV and cinema, and why some people don't want other people to be accepted? I mean, for me, when it comes to representation, I think it's just a case of, people want to be able to see themselves on screen. And I think it's really powerful and impactful to be able to see that, for some people, to let them know in a sense of that you can really accomplish and become anything that you kind of want. Not being able to see yourself in particular roles makes people think that they're never capable of getting to those heights in their lives or amounting to much of anything. And I think that was one of the reasons why, when we talked on APlus More Phenomenal yesterday, the journey that it took to get to that point in Dino Fury was long and difficult, embarrassing for some people. The idea of knowing that there are people out there like you that want to be represented, yet get pushed to the back or get hidden or not allowed to be kind of spoken upon. It makes one really have those negative connotations and beliefs that I think we've heard from a lot of people in that area of, in that can categorize themselves with that sexuality of feeling like they don't belong, or like people feel like they shouldn't even exist to a certain extent, which is kind of crazy to even fathom, even feeling that way about yourself. But representation goes a really long way. And I think as a society, we've really lost sympathy, empathy for other people. We've forgotten to understand that it's not just our world that we're living in, that we are a society that's filled with very mixed and different people with different beliefs and things like that. And sometimes I think we get caught up in our own world and just want to see people that look like us. And unfortunately, and I think some people maybe aren't either educated or they don't know how to approach the idea of seeing other people that don't look like them being represented. They feel very much like it's a threat, like maybe they're losing their job or somebody's taking something away from them. And unfortunately, it puts people, I think, in this mindset of not wanting other people to gain opportunities or to be kind of showcased. And it's really sad, honestly, to find ourselves in that position. Whereas when it comes to me, when I think of representation on TV, it's not a political, it's not a religious thing. It's just simply explaining and showcasing the world in which we simply live in. You know what I mean? And I think it's as simple as that. Yet, unfortunately, people make a bigger deal out of it than what it is. And I think we have a hard time putting ourselves in other people's shoes and understanding the struggles that they certainly go in, to not understand and realize how important it is for other people to see themselves represented. And I think it's a really disconnect of understanding and wanting to put ourselves in other people's shoes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you nailed it 100%. I think like the biggest thing is that a lot of people see like opportunity for others means less opportunity for them, which is not how the world works.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Marcelino does say, some people say you can see yourself represented even if it's not your same skin color or gender or sexual orientation. For example, Spider-Man represents all nerds, not just white nerds. Your thoughts? Absolutely. But trust me, there are some levels of representation where you do need to be a particular skin color or sexuality. But I also do think that there are sometimes some struggles that people in sexual orientation aspects of being represented, that I think even if you aren't struggling with that, there may be something in their struggle that you can connect with on a different and similar level. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah, it doesn't always have to be based off of sexual orientation, skin color, or gender, but sometimes it certainly does. But yeah, an example of Spider-Man is a great way to show that. Yeah, some people, it just connects with everybody. Some characters do like that.
Yeah, I think, and it's kind of like funny. It's like the movie Turning Red with the main character. They're like, there's nothing really specifically like that, like I can really relate to with her. Like if I look at specific details, but like kind of certain aspects of it, like the idea of kind of that like disconnect between kids and their parents. The idea that parents have a very specific way of seeing where their kids are at, which may not actually be where they're currently at. I think that's something that that's kind of something that a lot of people can relate to. You don't have to specifically be like the main character and have parents that are like helicopter parents to fully relate to it, but you can definitely relate to aspects of her. And that's kind of how I see like a lot of those characters, like what you were saying with Spider-Man, the idea of him being a nerd, and therefore that's something that I feel like a lot of people can relate to. You don't have to necessarily look like the character to relate to them, but it definitely does help, I think.
Absolutely. And even the idea of maybe not necessarily being a nerd, but like even seeing the idea of Peter Parker trying to juggle a lot of things in his life, things not necessarily going the way that he certainly hoped, like little things like that. I think we can also kind of relate to, you know what I mean? So I think there are definitely big ways of having those connections for sure. And then last but not least, Adam Pereira's got a couple questions. Did you guys see the trailer for the upcoming Pets movie with DC, with Keanu Reeves as Batman and Kevin Hart and The Rock as dog superheroes? Yes, the superhero of pets, I believe, right? Is that what it's called? Legion of Superhero Pets or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I did like the trailer. It was pretty funny. I mean, The Rock and Kevin Hart together, always a winning combination, even if it is just voice acting. I have no intentions of seeing it, although I may, just because of the fact that I've got a kid. So maybe it's something I'll put on in the TV to distract him at some point later on in his years. But I probably won't see it in movie theaters, but it looks humorous, I guess.
It looks cute.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. I'm like, I have no interest in seeing it, but if one of my friends ever brings their kids over, I might just like put it on in the living room as like background noise to distract him.
Yeah, I get you. And last but not least, our last question for the day: rank every live action movie Batman that you've had since.
Ooh.
So rank every live action movie Batman. So are we ranking the
Yeah.
Batmans or the movies?
I think actually that's a good question.
Rank every live action movie Batman that you've had, that we've had since.
Let's
Adam, if you're in the chat, can you just clarify that for us? Is it ranking the Batman live action Batmans from the movies, or are we ranking live action Batman movies? This is a tough one for me. I think he means the actors themselves, but right now, movie wise, if I had to rank them movie wise, I still want to see the Batman again. I think Datilla said she just saw it again for like the second or third time, but I kind of want to see the Batman again after watching it twice. I'm still very much a believer in The Dark Knight is my favorite Batman movie. The Batman would come second as of right now. I'll give Batman Begins my third spot. I'll take the Michael Keaton Batman in the fourth spot. I'll probably take Dark Knight Rises in the fifth spot. I'll probably will then take. Did I say Batman Returns yet?
I don't think so.
What was the last one I just said?
You said the Tim Burton Batman.
Okay.
So which I guess technically they both are.
The Dark Knight, the Batman, Batman Begins, the Batman. Oh, excuse me. Michael Keaton's Batman. Dark Knight Rises, Batman Returns, Batman and Robin, and Batman Forever. Which one was Batman Forever?
That was the Two-Face one.
Give me that one last.
Okay. Awesome. I'm not the only one. Yeah, that's probably my least favorite Batman movie as well. Batman Forever. I like Batman and Robin slightly more because if you look at it as a spiritual sequel to the Batman and Robin television show, it actually works really well. And that's how I like to look at it. So those two would be like dead last. And then Dark Knight Rises, I wasn't like the biggest fan of. And then Batman Returns a little bit after that. And then, okay, now getting into the Batman movies I actually like. I guess I'd start it with Batman Begins. I would then go to The Dark Knight, and then I would go to Batman, the Tim Burton one. And then my number one, of course, would be The Batman. I'm also not sure if this counts, but I also really like that straight to TV Batman and Robin movie that was like an anniversary to the television show, where basically it's just Adam West and Burt Ward kind of playing themselves, and something gets stolen, and so they end up kind of doing a Batman and Robin mystery, but in doing so it leads to flashbacks that are actually kind of structured as a biopic of the two of them when they were starting as Batman and Robin. So I'm not sure if that counts as a Batman movie, but if it does, I mean, I guess I don't know between.
I don't know if that counts as a Batman movie, but they did have a 1960s Batman movie.
Oh, that is true. They did have the Batman.
I probably will put that. I probably will put that just before Batman Forever.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to rank them both actually higher. I'm going to say put them between Batman Returns and Batman Begins for me. Put them like between there.
Okay. Adam Pereira did say the actors themselves. So as far as ranking the Batman actors, that's a tough one for me. That's a really tough one for me. I can't answer that right now, Adam. I got to think about that one. I'm still on the fence. Like I want to see each iteration of these Batman once again. I may do a little bit of a Batman marathon before I can make that decision.
Val Kilmer is definitely dead last for me. George Clooney would be second to last. And then Adam West would be my number 3. Number 2 would be then next one up would be Christian Bale. Michael Keaton, of course, being my second favorite. And then, of course, my new favorite being Robert Pattinson.
Where's Ben Affleck land for you?
Oh, shoot, Ben Affleck. I forgot about him. He would probably be just right beneath Michael Keaton as
yeah. Batman. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I would say as Bruce Wayne, he's my number 1 for sure. As my Batman, he's like number 3.
Gotcha. Maybe I'll answer that question at another point in time, Adam. Give me some time to figure that one out, because I'm really struggling with these 3 right now of Robert, Ben, Christian, and Michael. I really like those are probably my favorite Batman that we've had. It's really hard for me to decipher which one I like the most as of right now. So I'll get back to that one. All right, guys. I think other than that, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for me and for all of us here at APlus Hero Report, guys. So thank you very much for certainly joining us here today and having some great conversations as always with you guys as we explore some amazing topics this week. But plenty more to certainly come your way later on this week, guys. So definitely go ahead and check out some of our reviews that we certainly have lined up for you later on this week. And if anything, we certainly will be back next weekend, as always, Sunday, going live at noon Central Time. So certainly go ahead and join us then. But Stuart, if people want to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can find me over on Twitter at TurboStew01.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much for joining us today. And of course, if you want to follow us, guys, on social media, right up here at APlus Opinions, very active over on Twitter as well as Instagram. And definitely check us out over on our Facebook page, which is our main hub where we post all of our information, articles, memes, trailers, posters, all throughout the week for you guys. So definitely follow us over on Facebook. And then if you guys want to go ahead and join us on our Discord forum community, please go ahead and do so. There is a link in the description box below for you guys to join us if you'd like to communicate with us outside of our YouTube community. It's a great place to go ahead and further discuss some of the topics and a plethora of other topics there at the forum community for you guys also. So definitely join us over on Discord. But other than that, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification along with those big thumbs up if you like this content, and we definitely will be back next weekend. But until then, as always, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.